Hey, welcome everyone. We are live here on episode 16 of Chatting with Nuts. I'm ecstatic for tonight's episode. One, because I just saw the Doom movie and I need to talk about it. I needed to just gush just a little bit. And the other reason why I'm so excited is because we're talking with the man himself, Iskar, who I think honestly is one of the reasons why Malazin's quickly climbing the ranks of my favorite series of all time. Because if it wasn't for Iskar and his wonderful content, there's a whole hell of a lot of Malazan I still wouldn't understand. So, Iskar,
Thank
how
you.
are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much. You're too kind. I always feel like I'm the one who has nothing to add on that front except for just like the kind of pom-pom cheerleader celebration. So it's very, very appreciated, and I'm super pumped to be here because yeah, no, I was telling you before, I'm a fan of all the stuff you're putting out. So I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I appreciate it, man. And everyone just needs to recognize how clear is Iskar's video right now. I mean, he looks phenomenal. I was picking his brain about his setup because I think it just looks excellent. And that is very on brand for you,
Excellent.
man, because I think that you have some of the best content on the platform. I have laughed harder at your thumbnails than anyone else's in the booktube game. Folks, if you have not seen Iskar's thumbnails, what are you doing? They are immaculate. They're the best.
Thank you. No, those are for me actually, and that's like one of the things that I was kind of like, looking at like how to make YouTube videos originally and stuff like that. And like one of the things they always say is like, get your kind of metadata in order and do all that stuff
Yeah.
and have like, use the title and the thumbnail to like tell a story and do all this stuff. And then it's like, or I could like Photoshop our faces on the funny stuff and use like a totally tongue-in-cheek title that nobody even understands or could ever tell what the video is about. But you know what, if I'm not enjoying it, then I'm gonna quit. So I gotta like keep myself entertained. But I love that somebody appreciates it.
Oh man, me and Philip were talking about because last week's I shouldn't say last, it's actually been 3 weeks since we've done the show. I made a pretty ridiculous thumbnail for me and Philip Chase. We were both, he was in a wife beater, I was shirtless from my wrestling days. We're both just double
Oh,
bicep.
I saw that. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, the gun show. I saw that one. That was awesome.
Well, I saw him post that for a discussion he had with another Malaz tuber, and I think actually I think it was it
Yeah, it
for
was
you?
Ruth Ann Bad. Yeah,
Yeah, and you've had conversations with him.
yeah, totally.
You
My
two get
boy.
along really well. I actually really like listening to you two bounce back and forth. I had to jump from one of them because of spoilers at
Yeah.
the time.
Those ones are always spoilers. Actually, if you haven't finished, you probably don't want to click on any of those because like he especially likes to go in hard right at the beginning before anybody has a chance to get out. So but
The nice thing about Malazan, it's very hard to spoil because so much stuff happens and there's so much context to everything that like someone could tell you probably the last sentence of a book and you'd be okay. Like
yeah,
I
no,
guess.
totally. It's not it's I always say it's like a journey, not a destination story, but I totally like had so many self-inflicted wounds because I'm like reading it by myself. So I'm on like Google, which is like do not Google stuff. But dude, oh, I had like so many key, things spoiled for me. But actually it like oh, I can't really say what's the counterfactual, right? But I didn't feel like any, I had any diminished level of enjoyment. So just because again, it's not about like the kind of the chuck the ring in the volcano kind of moment. So
That's right. Yeah. I think that's pretty spot on. Um, Whenever I made that thumbnail, we were laughing about it, and he said, "You have got to check out Iskar's thumbnails." And I had seen your thumbnails, and I've never registered just how over the top they are. But some of them, there's one about Malazan being about empathy, and it's the meme of the guy like, "What?" It's just
yeah,
like the best. They're
yeah.
great, man.
Totally. No, I try and have fun with it and like,
Yeah.
make fun of myself because who could be mad at that? As long as you're, not being mean to anybody else, I can be mean to myself. So, but yeah, the collab ones are always the best because you try and like pick up on a theme that it's like once you watch the video, then the thumbnail makes sense, but it's like probably not doing me any favors on the old YouTube algorithm, but still fun.
Yeah, this haunting algorithm everyone talks about. I just don't worry about it because I figure I'm too dumb to understand it, I just let it ride.
Yeah, my philosophy is like make videos that I like look forward to making, like ones that I'm like, oh dude, somebody's got to make a video like that, right? Like a video you want to watch that you haven't seen, or you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
uh Yeah, and I think that's probably what people want to watch anyway. They don't want to watch you like perfectly recite a script. They want to see you like talk about something where you're like, that was dope, that was terrible, whatever it was.
I tried writing a script one time, dude, and I was like, this ain't me. I was like, if this is what I have to do every time, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, no, I have definitely. I write down bullet points. I do like PowerPoint stuff for
Yes.
like my regular day job and whatever. But it's like I do the same exact approach with my PowerPoints that I do with my videos, where it's like, a picture, a couple of words to like remind me like what was the point, or to like remind me to like keep going and not just sit there and ramble for like 50 minutes on one like totally tangential topic and stuff, and like keep it moving. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I do bullet points, and sometimes I hate myself because I'll I'll read my bullet point and go, "What in the hell was I supposed to say with this? Like, what in the world?"
Yeah.
One nice thing about bullet points, it makes it very easy to know when you're cutting your footage if you do cuts like I do.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how the video proceeds. They're very hard to do with Malazan though, because Malazan's never really just one sentence, is it? It's always an expansion upon something that's happened, and especially when you get into spoilers. My Memories of Ice video was very intimidating because of that.
Totally.
I'm trying not to read off my phone, but I'm trying to do like the peek down. Like, what was I talking about again?
Yeah, no, definitely. Even like figuring out how to structure my videos at first. And then I was like, I'm going to have to do like just like a kind of recap section, or like my interpretation of the events, and then like some spoiler stuff. Cause I don't know what the right way is. There's a lot always going on. And it's like, you want to bring people in, but
Yeah.
then you want to like selfishly nerd out on certain stuff too. So
I actually really like that you said that. Like, what's the right way to do it? And I've been so conflicted, man, with my Malaz and stuff, because I'm reading other stuff as I read through Malaz,
yeah.
and I like to kind of have a little bit of something for everybody. I like to meet a lot of different type of people, and I kind of bounce around between series and whatnot. I usually have like a general focus, and I sprinkle things around that. I did that with the Realm of the Elderlings as well. But man, when you tackle something that's so important to so many people. And I know that's kind of sounds silly, but these series are very important to us. A Song of Ice and Fire is very near and dear to my heart. Obviously, Malazan's huge for you, and then everyone in chat probably has a series that means a lot to them. So even when something isn't even my favorite of all time, I always like really want to put out something, one that I want to watch and enjoy, but also like to do it justice for those people.
Totally.
And it is hard to pick what's the right way of doing this, and sometimes you can think of multiple things. And then you have to balance like how much time you actually have to do those things.
Yeah.
It's very tough. I really like the stuff that you've done. I can't watch all of your stuff because I haven't finished the series yet, though I have finished all the way through book 5 now. So I'm cruising.
Yeah. No, which is my jam too. 5's always like a controversial one, but for me, it's
what
high
a book.
Up there.
Yeah. What a book, man. I think Erickson came into his own, really. I think like Midnight Tide showed me like a huge leap forward. And I would even say maybe a little bit of foreshadowing as far as like his improvement as a writer was in House of Chains, because I actually loved House of Chains as well.
Yeah.
I also enjoy the fact that House of Chains starts off with a single point of view, because we all know Malazan has so many characters, and he was basically tired of everyone saying, you don't get in these characters' head. He's like, okay, fine.
Yes. He's like, you want a couple 100 pages of just one thing? Yeah.
Here's Conan. Enjoy.
Yeah. No. It's dope because, and actually I think like, he just keeps on getting better and better. And actually like Esselmont, who kind of co-authors the world with him, I think same thing. It's like every next book that you read, you're just like, oh my God, it like gets better and better and better. So yeah,
absolutely, man. RJ, thank you so much for the 9 spot, man. He says Iskar is just awesome. Single-handedly convinced me to read Malazan. RJ,
yeah.
I mean that's why I brought him on.
Yeah, no, that's why I was like, even though I have nothing to offer, like, you know what I mean, intellectually, like the enthusiasm has to at least be like, bro, at least got to see what got this dude all pumped, right?
Yeah, no, I think I kind of said this in my Memories of Ice review whenever I was talking about Spindle's shirt. I said, I know there's a postmodernist out there. Andy Smith did a great breakdown of that. AP is a literal genius. I said, I'm here for this. I'm here for Spindle's shirt being made of his, dead mother's hair.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm here for.
I'm like, I'm here to see giant dogs doing crazy stuff and just ripping people to shreds. So
yeah, I'm a big fan of fist pumping fantasy. I say it all the time. I just am. Fist pumping fantasy or stuff that makes me put a book down and go, what did I just read?
Yeah.
Which is probably why Dark Tower resonated with me so much when I read it this year. I know that's that series is divisive per book,
Yeah.
depending on who you talk to.
Yeah.
I ate it up, and I actually feel Malazan tickles that or scratches that itch that I got in Dark Tower, and I was just like, what? Like,
Yeah.
what is in Stephen King's mind? I feel like Erickson also has a very vivid and just ridiculous imagination that I love to be inside of.
Yeah, totally. No, I was pretty much like hooked the first book, even though I didn't really know it yet. But even like within the first chapters, you know what I mean? Because it's like you start in the aftermath of this gnarly battle, then you like have the crazy flashback, like laser fireball, like crazy, scary, badass dude in his flying mountain city, whatever. And I was like, all right, yeah, I'm gonna have to see where this goes. And yeah, dude, it's got a lot of like, but what's crazy too is the stuff that really makes me like it the most is like it hits you in the feels really hard. So it's like it's got like I think just that perfect balance of and I'm not gonna hijack your whole thing and just sit here
No,
and
go
gush over
for it.
Malazan, but you know what I
No,
mean?
yeah.
It's like it has that kind of the fireworks aspect, I guess, or like
Yeah.
you know what I mean, but then it has like all the kind of like Band of Brothers type stuff that I'm like always all in for too, and he knocks that stuff out of the park. So it's like, what more could you want, man? It's got something for everyone.
Yeah, it really does. If you're willing to make the time investment, the further I go in the series, the further I do see that. And Erickson kind of falls into the same line for me as George R. R. Martin in
Totally.
some ways,
100%.
And I was actually talking to my buddy Christian right before the stream, and I'm rereading right now. We're doing a reread with Alex Nevaeh and Lena's Library,
Oh, nice.
and it's going tremendous. We're on book 1 right now. And the
Love
thing that
that.
I've captured, I've read about 100 books since the last time I've reread A Song of Ice and Fire. And the thing that George R. R. Martin has, one, the dude just knows how to tell a story.
Mm,
But I can pick out authors that do single things better than Gurm.
yeah.
I know Robin Hobb writes better characters. I think Brandon Sanderson is a plot master.
Right.
And I can go through and I can pick apart things and say George isn't the best in this, this, and this. But when it comes to the full package, George just brings it together. Like he's just enough. And no one brings it together quite like him. And I get that same feeling from Steven Erickson. I really do. He does a lot of things really, really great.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say he writes my favorite characters all time, though very high, very, very high.
Yeah.
But it's just that the culmination of all the effort that he
The
puts
whole
in
thing.
makes
Yeah,
it something
the
really
package.
special.
Totally. No, I mean, Ice and Fire is like the jam to me too. You know what I mean? Because it's like he doesn't necessarily give you, what you want and like, the red wedding and all this stuff. Like it's like you think you have it figured out like in the first, episode. And then it's like you get to the end of the first book and you're like, oh my God, like that was my whole, forecast for what was gonna happen is now out the window. And then it's like you go into book 2 and you're like, okay, now I got it figured out. It's the kid, right? It's like that, and then it's like and then he just like keeps pulling the carpet out from under you. But it's like, he's like developing all this stuff that like has you so invested. And I think like, that's kind of where I was at too. It was like not necessarily any individual character. Same thing with like Band of Brothers, which I don't know why I always like make that reference, but it was
That's
like
a good
show.
reference though.
It was a show that kind of like evokes a lot of that same stuff. And it's like you can't really name like specific dudes from Band of Brothers necessarily. There's like but you know what I mean? But it was like the whole vibe of them all together that you kind of end up somehow being invested in.
I think buying the relationships is one of the biggest things for me when it comes to getting invested in something. And in some series, like haven't done that for me, like Wheel of Time very much. I never really bought into that relationships or those relationships in that series.
Yeah.
And I feel like that actually really, hampered my experience with that. I know a lot of other people would disagree and say they liked it, but for me personally, it just didn't click. But when it comes to, the Starks in A Song of Ice and Fire, or the Bridge Burners in Malazan, or even, in Stormlight, I really believe in Bridge 4. I like the camaraderie that goes into that, and you just believe in it, and you kind of want to be a part of it. You kind of feel like you are.
Yeah.
Totally.
No, it's that's kind of like you kind of understand the motivations, you know what I mean? So I think, and that's what I think like Erickson's a master of like empathy, you know what I mean? Like he can really like put himself in. Oh, it's Philip. What up, dog? But But I think, I don't know, I don't want to speak for him, but it seems like that to me, like that he's able to really get inside the head of like all these people and like really flesh out motivation so that it feels like authentic, even if you're like, what the heck's going on? But like on those like kind of interpersonal relationship things, you are like, I get it, like this is what this person's like driven by, right? And that's like kind of why they're, and you can kind of reverse engineer the behavior out, I guess, from the motivation. And for me, again, it's not like a necessarily, I think, a character driven story, although I don't necessarily think it's like a plot driven story either. I'm terrible at being able to describe it, but it's like, you know what I mean? You're still kind of like in for the ride and feeling like
it's an experience.
Yeah, totally. Because you're like kind of like the characters, right? It's like you're basically in world, like discovering stuff and finding and having all these preconceptions be upended on you, just like the people in the books. And so it's like you're kind of forged in the crucible right alongside these people.
Yeah, I said this in my Memories of Ice review, but I always think it's really interesting, especially Memories of Ice is when this really comes about. But like Malazans, there's a lot of macro things happening, right? We're jumping across the continents, we're doing all these things. It's very high level. But the decisions being made on the lowest level are then impacting, and hundreds of thousands of years of history are being really challenged and subverted, all because of one individual or multiple individuals, in this case, decisions. So he kind of almost has a commentary on his storytelling style, thinking, oh, yeah, this is a macro story. We're being told what's happening on these continents. But then, like, you have your ace in the hole, right? You have your Ganos Paran, right? Or your silver foxes and stuff like that. And they make decisions that say, oh, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go with the grain. And the inner conflict with the characters of Malazan is one of my favorite things. It's also one of my favorite things within Realm of the Elderlings and A Song of Ice and Fire, when you can really put on display the human conflict inside. I think that's the most interesting thing that you can read about or write about, and that's kind of what Gurm says. He said William Faulkner said that, and he writes that way, and I think that's why I connect with his work so much.
Yeah, I see Mrs. Duncan the Tall. That's an epic name, but like that's like a perfect example, right? Like the Duncan egg stuff. Like I totally like love that stuff so much because it's like, all the kind of noble, whatever, like anointed knights and whatever. And then you have this dude who like, basically has no formal training. He's like has no pedigree whatsoever. And he's like the one with the actual correct moral compass and whatever. And is like actually like more intelligent than all the, these educated people. There's like a difference between education and intelligence, you know what I mean? And to be able to like capture that on a page and whatever is like, I think that's like, again, same thing. It's like, it's that kind of human story. And like, I love that Dunk inner conflict. I'm sorry, I'm just like vibing with that name, but it's like the one bad thing he did was like lied about the kind of his origin story or whatever. But then it's like, besides that, so I don't know. He's just, that's actually one of the reasons why I got into the Malazan books, honestly, is because I read the Ice and Fire stuff. And I'm like sitting there thirsting for a Dance with Dragons, like super hard. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to read something that's done. And so I was like, what is, finished? Or I think Dance with Dragons had just come out after I had been thirsting for it for years. Yeah. And then I like read it in like a week or something. And I was like, all right, what? And it ends on like an epic cliffhanger too.
It sure has.
And here we are still sitting here like 10 years later or whatever. But so then that's like, I was like, what's finished out there?
And there's not much else that has been to the epic scale, that Malazan's on. You got, just sheer book and page count, word count, but also the actual scale of Malazan's story, I think, is unmatchable. I don't think there's anyone doing quite that. I remember when I read Stormlight, I messaged Petrick, and I just said, man, like Sanderson's going, this is like Oathbringer. I was like, man, he's going like deep on all this stuff. This might be one of the deepest things I've ever read as far as like, him getting into the intricacies of the magic. And he was like, dude, wait till you read Malazan. He's like, just wait till you read Malazan. He's like, no one's ever done it like Erickson's done it. And I think to some people that's not necessarily a positive, but for me, it certainly is.
It's a huge commitment. That's like one of the reasons why I could never get people that I know in real life to actually read it. Right? It's like, hey, just read these. And it's
and they're different.
Give it the first 4,000 pages before you decide.
I was told to read Memories of Ice. Everyone said read Memories of Ice. That's where the story really starts off and takes off. And I'll be honest with you, I was pretty much in from Gardens of the Moon, and it feels weird to say that because like so many people I know, even people who love the series, say it was rough for
It's
me.
not a beloved book, yeah.
And thinking back on it, I mean, I really love that book. I think about Gardens of the Moon probably more than I think about any of the other ones. Dead House Gates definitely has some stuff that resonated with me, and you know, there's a ton of moral conflict in that book that I like to think about. But Gardens of the Moon, you know, just incredible. So I just said I just saw Dune, and Gardens of the Moon reminds me a lot of Dune, mainly because of the dinner scenes, right?
Yeah.
They parallel each other pretty well. But someone asked me in my Patreon chat, they said, because I said after seeing Dune in theaters today, which by the way is one of the best movies I've ever seen in my life.
It was dope. I just watched it right before I jumped on here.
Did you? Okay. Yeah, I just did too. So we can gush about that.
Oh, yeah.
I just realized I'm sitting in the theater and I'm saying, you know, we talk about TV adaptations all the time. Oh, we got to do this into a TV show. We got to do this TV show. And that's fine. Folks, movies are still they're amazing. I mean, Dune did not pull any punches with world building or minor details. I mean, obviously it's an adaptation, so some things were left out, but Villanueva just went for it. And it has opened my eyes that if someone actually does it properly and is given
the money at it, don't be cheap.
Let's go. You know, I mean, we can do this. And I love TV shows. I actually prefer TV shows generally to movies at this point in my life. However, there is so much untapped potential with a good director, a good studio, and a theater experience. I mean, it is just something to behold. Dune was phenomenal. And people asked me when I said that, I kind of put that in my Patreon chat. They said, well, what other books would you like to see made into movies? And I said, Mistborn book 1 would be very good. But I said, man, Gardens of the Moon.
Yeah, totally.
Midnight Tides.
Yeah, 100%. There's epicness there to do.
You could tell Midnight Tides is almost a stand. I mean, you need some context of what things mean, but I mean, Midnight Tides is a hell of a story.
Totally.
Cinematic, you know, the ring, or I think it was rolling into the room at the, oh my goodness, let's go. I got chills, man. You could get someone like Dennis to make Gardens of the Moon. Could you imagine?
Oh, dude. Yeah, it could be so epic. You know, there's like so many of the kind of lasers and fireballs and just like badass people. And the thing I like about the movies too is like, you know, you get the really big name people, like you throw the budget at the casting and like look at Dune. That like, you know, that was worth every penny, because like having those really good actors in there, I thought was you know, it would have been dope no matter what. And like even like, you know, Game of Thrones, the show was like really dope with relative unknowns of high quality, but like, you know what I mean, having people who are just like at the top of their game too is like, there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll tell you what, that Timothy fellow, I don't know his name, the guy who played Paul in Dune.
Yeah, totally.
Holy shit. I mean, I watched him in The King. It was a Netflix movie. It was a fine movie. Robert Pattinson nailed it, and that Timothy kid nailed it. So I was excited to see what he would do in Dune. And I'm going to tell you what, anything that kid's in, I will watch from now on.
Yeah, I've never seen him in anything, but that was knocked it out of the park. I loved when she was like, yeah, you're supposed to be the Muad'Dib, but you just look like a little boy. That was like the epic line of the whole movie.
Yeah, and I think I don't think he's that young, right? I think he's like probably young 20s. So. And I'm like, God, man, this is probably hurting his pride a little bit. He's so skinny.
That was epic.
My wife has never read Dune. She reads some fantasy and stuff, but she went and saw Dune with me. Loved it.
Oh, really?
And she's like, I'm going to read Dune. Yeah, so she's going to read Dune now.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's just amazing what we're able to do when we bring this stuff to life, man. Like,
oh my gosh.
I did you see it in theaters? Did you watch HBO Max? How'd you do it?
HBO Max. Yeah.
So this is my first time ever going to IMAX, man.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Bro, I literally felt like I was in some of those scenes. Yeah. Like a noise would go off back here. I go, oh shit! Like what's going on back here? And it's the movie, and I'm like, oh. So the IMAX experience is ridiculous. Just to put, I know everyone's like, welcome to 10 years ago, but hey, I'm late to the show. Listen, I just moved to civilization like 3 years ago, so I'm experiencing all these wonderful things. But
I'm the opposite. We don't even have a theater, so
I mean, honestly, though, it's probably better that way. It's probably better that way. I mean, I would have watched on HBO Max had I not had an IMAX down the street. I said, well, I need to see it in all of its glory, and I took half a day from work, and it was definitely worth it. But I don't know about you, but I thought the thing about the Dune movie that just blew me away was how otherworldly it truly felt.
Dude, it was legit. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It felt
It
like
was
you were on
super good.
Arrakis. Like
Totally. Even like with the sky and stuff like that. You
the
know what I mean?
moons.
Like, dude, oh, the
Ugh.
moons. Yeah, totally. That was super badass. And like I just like all the technology, even and stuff, like the little like
Mhm.
tent tunneling thing, and you know what I mean? Like they
The
definitely
comm
like
chip.
thought through. Yeah, exactly. That was like they just did a good like the execution was of a very very high quality. That's like the other dope thing about Game of Thrones, right? Is like it definitely kind of lit the fire, created this thirst for like fantasy content where it like isn't just kind of banished to the realm of, you know, the kind of uber nerds or whatever, you know what I mean? Or which I think like, you know, it had gotten a bad rap, or at least like growing up in the
Yes.
80s and 90s, you know what I mean? It was like liking comics and stuff was like kind of like a nerdy thing that I got made fun of for, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and
And
also
like just
it's anything with a sword and an elf is Lord of the Rings, right? Or you know,
totally.
anything fantasy. Oh, that's Lord of the Rings.
But no, and then people were like, "Oh my god, it's like it's you know what I mean, the kind of dragons and the lasers and the fireballs and blah 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 is like, you know, it's like that's kind of like the backstory, but it's really like about the people and stuff and the
Right.
motivations and whatever, especially like Game of Thrones. It was like the political intrigue and the, you know, the motivations, the backstabbing and whatever that made it good. It wasn't like you had this white-haired chick flying around on a giant dragon.
Yeah, yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, in the showrunners clearly went that way, right? They even said we're going to kind of move away from some of George's points because we want it to be less fantastical, which I would argue that they had the audience in the palm of their hand.
Oh yeah.
I think they could have went there,
People
to be
wanted that.
honest.
They were thirsting for it after the first season.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It's kind of like, you know, I took my in-laws to Ren Fair
Mhm.
this past week. These are people who have never been to Ren Fair, people you probably wouldn't see at Ren Fair. And it's one of those things where you go and at first you feel a little awkward, right? Like if you're them.
Yeah.
And slowly you start to see the costumes, you start to get into the mood, you hear the music, people are dancing, and then all of a sudden it's the cool thing to be doing those things, right? Oh, we should have dressed up. We should have dressed up, right? Damn it. Next year we'll dress up. And I think Game of Thrones extended itself to a larger audience and said, hey, it's okay. It's okay to like the dragon. It's
Totally.
okay to
Let
enjoy the magic.
let yourself have a little fun, bro. Chill out. You know?
Yeah, it's not all just for kids. Harry Potter, very much, you know. I mean, there's a lot of adults that probably watched that or read that with their kids, and it's oh, it's for the kids, but it was really for them.
Totally.
You
Yeah.
know what I
And
mean?
like, yeah, we're in this like really weird. I don't know. I was like, I feel like coming out of the back end of this thing where it's like, you know, all these kind of like 60s flower children were like then like
Yeah.
20 years down the road in the 80s and like, oh my God, we got to get our act together. And it's all about like self-help and self-improvement. We're gonna read like the seven, you know, the kind of Dale Carnegie stuff, and we're gonna, you know, do all this and learn how to like win friends and influence people and be like productive, you know,
Yeah.
cowness and all this stuff. And then and it's like, why would we read, you know, crap like that? Like we need to read how to invest in the stock market, or you know what I mean? And then like we were like, dude, we got like our a little too much starch in the old collar there, I think, and eventually like let themselves loosen up maybe, or like just realize what they've been missing out on the whole time. That's kind of how it was for me. I didn't start reading fantasy stuff till older, and I was like, why would I waste my time when I could, like, you know, if I'm going to force myself to read, I'm going to like be educating myself and walk away like more, you know, improved or with a skill or something. And it was
Yes.
like the actual, like, you know what I mean? Like there's no real self work involved in, you know, reading about how to successfully navigate the stock market, you know what I mean? But like when you're
Yeah.
grappling with these bigger, you know, emotional and moral, you know, philosophical issues, then it's like, you know, I wasn't a philosophy major. I was like doing calculus and spreadsheet crap. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like to be able to engage with stuff like that, it's like you almost need to be able to abstract yourself into some world of lasers and fireballs and dragons. Otherwise, you like, you know what I mean? You project on your own, you know, kind of toxic stuff onto it. And there you can kind of take a step back and objectively be like, dude, that's jacked up. And then you're like, oh my God, do I do that?
That's exactly correct. You can find some people have trouble with self-reflection, and I think it's a part of growing up. in being an adult or whatever and growing as a person. But sometimes it does help to have a different lens atop of that self-reflection. And really, you can get it whenever you speak about books, whenever you talk about books. I've come out of a book saying, I kind of like this character. People said, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "What? Well, why?" And then they explain it. I go, "Saw a lot of myself in that character." Oh man, yikes!
Totally. Yeah. And you're like, oh my God, I'm a scumbag. I've done that about like the Erickson books, like even in the Discord and just being like, oh my God, and like totally repping, I love this character. I'm like, what about they did this? And I was like, oh my God. Yeah, I guess that was really jacked up.
Yeah,
And like
and it's all
the
about the
three-dimensional.
perspective of what you see, how you see it, and Malazan obviously dives way into that.
Yeah, totally.
I thought I knew
That's
what happened
actually
at the Siege of Pale, and I was completely incorrect. The story keeps changing every time someone tells it.
Well, yeah, totally, dude. And like you read that first book, and it's like you totally have like a set of beliefs that you carry through like the first 4 or 5 books easily, and like that are like slowly peeled back in a very like painful and traumatizing way. That you're like, oh wait, no, what? I can't like just be 100%, ride or die against this person or for this person. And they're like, you're like, don't make them morally gray. I was like perfectly content to just like hate these people. You know what I mean?
Well, let's be honest. It's easier to hate. It's easier to hate or to love, right? One way
Yeah,
or the other.
totally.
I mean, we've all done that. Maybe. For me, I remember when I was younger, I definitely jumped to the conclusion on a lot of people. I would take my first impression and run with it. And it was always an awkward moment when you had to admit you were wrong and you actually wanted to get to know the person a little bit better.
Yeah, totally. That's one of the most like disappointing parts of the Game of Thrones show for me. Of the finale wasn't like it was like the Jaime Lannister stuff, because that was like what really like showed me how like crazy you could do, like achieve stuff, right? And like you could be like at the end of the first, book, you're like so ride or die. Like this dude is like the most disgusting, despicable villain. You're like, he's freaking boning his sister. He's killing kids.
He's
like
detestable.
Yeah, dude. The worst of the worst. And then it's like you start to like totally empathize with them by like the 4th and 5th book, and then it's like, yeah.
Yeah, man.
I didn't know books could do that. Who's the good guy then? Who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy? AP's here.
Said he's here for the great Iskar, so he will not be spamming his Man of Steel Harry Potter rants yet.
Hey, well, I got my kid next door, and she's a big Harry Potter fan. So,
dude, I will say I was in BAM today because obviously I go there every time, even if I don't buy anything. But I was in Books A Million, and I saw this new Harry Potter box set. I don't know if it's new or not. It's new to me. Man, they get the best treatment for those books, don't they?
Oh yeah, dude. There's so many awesome hardcovers that makes every other like fandom thirst over like all these beautiful sets that can go up.
You walk across Harry Potter or you walk across the YA section, and I'm like, why don't we have this?
Dude, seriously.
We just get the as seen on Amazon Prime sticker just slammed on the front of Eye of the World, and they call it a day. And I'm like,
well, when we get more like Philip Chase AP collabs, then hopefully like the momentum, the groundswell will just keep building, and eventually like the Malazan stuff will get the movie, the books, the merch, you name it. Sky's the limit.
Well, this might be an exciting thing for everyone here, especially you, Iskar. I'm sure you would love to hear this. But so this week, if you haven't seen it, folks, I did an unboxing for all 4 of the A Song of Ice and Fire books, which was a lot of fun to do. But
8 books, you mean?
Yes, the split volumes, as you can see. Wait, they're back there with my little Gurm Funko
those.
Pop.
Yeah.
So one of my followers on Twitter tweeted, those are beautiful, and Folio Society tweeted back at me and them and said, oh, thanks for doing the unboxing. I said, sure. And my follower tweeted back at them and said, hey, will you please do Malazan? And they said, we are going to send, like, we will look into that. Essentially,
proactively contact Erickson. Good, get it done.
So I'm just saying, I mean, obviously they're probably just spitballing out there, but Folio Society is now aware that we need Folio Society Malazan editions.
Yeah, I think there was a tweet that somebody kept up and like blasting them too, and just saying that. The other thing which I've been doing is like, once a week I go to the Funko Pop thing and I suggest Animander Rake as a as a thing, and I like leave links to like key channels. I go, look, Mike Book Reviews is doing that's a 50,000 person channel. I'm like, dude, get on that. You're making Bob's Burgers Funko Pops. Like, let's make this happen. Come on.
Yeah, you have to leverage those numbers. You have to leverage that. If we come together, folks, if you only just subscribe to me more enough.
Yeah. Totally selflessly, dude. This is about the books, guys.
Jackass asks, did you see that Folio does a Farseer Trilogy 2 chatting with us? Yes, I did. I'll be honest with you. While they're very nice, I actually prefer my illustrated editions. I will likely get those eventually, but man, these illustrated editions that they released, super fairly priced for what they are. I mean,
that's the way to do it, dude. That's like, seriously, I hope they do the whole rest of the series, because I have those too, and I would buy those.
I would buy them
every time
immediately.
Yeah, 11 out of 10 recommend those. That's
Iskar, I'm going to be honest with you. Oh, well, real quick. Amanda, thank you for the 10 spot. I know you're broke after buying those folios.
Dude, straight up, dude.
This is my last day in this house. I'm actually living inside the box that they came in from here on out. So the streams might be a little lower quality, coming off my my pay for phone, my burner phone. Thank you, Amanda, for the 10 spot. That it covered approximately 1/700th of what they cost. I think it's 1/70th, whatever. You're the mathematician, not me. So I'm gonna be honest, Iskar. One of the reasons why I wanted to have you on here, is I was talking to Philip, and we were talking about people I should have on. He recommended you. For him, he said he wanted to get you back into the spotlight.
Oh no!
I found out some information about you that made me want to bring you on and talk to you. And I know all of my patrons are going to love this.
Yeah.
Iskar, you're a fan of Realm of the Elderlings, aren't you?
Oh, straight up and down. Yeah,
Let's go.
That's my jam, 100%, dude. That's I always said if I didn't have a Malazan channel, I would have done a Realm of the Elderlings channel. Neither one are necessary at this point anymore, because it seems like they're both getting their kind of their moment in the sun or whatever. But dude, the Realm of the Elderlings is straight up the jam. And I saw somebody ask earlier, like, I think it was even Philip that asked, like, what about doing that for TV or a movie? And I totally would be on board for that. I think you would really pick up like a big female demographic too, that could like really help the fantasy genre like bust into, that in a more meaningful way, because like it's not just on the kind of author front, but I think it like is also reflected in like the fandom a little bit, you know what I mean?
Agree.
Where it's very bottom heavy, or however, male heavy, or whatever you want to call it. And that like has, again, badass characters, killer like magic system that's pretty unique, but then like all the feels and stuff. But it's also just like, I don't know, you like people can get their heads around that story, and she freaking presses all the buttons and just absolutely crushes it. And there's so much meat there too. Like she could do the life ship too. That'd be pretty badass too.
So have you read all 16?
I've read everything. Yeah.
All right, my man. All right, so the Realm of the Elderlings is my second favorite series of all time. And if I didn't have a nostalgia for A Song of Ice and Fire, it would probably be number one.
Yeah.
I think Robin Hobb is the best fantasy author ever to live.
I hope she does more, dude. I really do.
I'm in. Like whatever she wants to do, I'm going to read. I think that Live Ship would be a phenomenal miniseries. Even if they want to like kind of combine some of the arcs or something, like in a true adaptation, give me like 12 episodes. HBO, you got to do it. It has to be HBO.
Mad money, you know what I mean?
Just go for it. Obviously, there's some similars between the animals and Game of Thrones in there, with the
totally
the big lizards that fly. But I think Live Ship specifically, the arc that's told over those three, I think it's one of the best trilogies ever. I mean, it's so good.
So good.
And then if we had Fitz, oh my goodness.
Totally.
Oh my goodness.
I think great. Yeah. No, Fitz is the jam, man. You get to see his whole life, start to finish. So
that's what she said. She said she wanted to write a character from a boy's life from start to finish. And it's oh God, man. It to me, there's no better character work in the entire genre. I really just don't think there is. I absolutely love it.
Good. Yeah.
APS, did you read the short story about the founding? I have not read any of the novellas or short stories. I'm actually saving those for a rainy day. So basically, the next time I feel like I want to reread Realm of the Elderlings, I'll just read those instead to kind of keep me away because I need to read more new things. But I've heard that not just the Fountain of Bingtown, but the Piebald's short story novella is phenomenal.
That one's dope. Yeah, I have that one in hardback that I found on eBay.
Oh, really?
For like $15. Yeah.
Oh.
Super epic.
Is it a standalone? Like it's all by itself?
Yeah.
Dude.
Check that out.
I love it. That's a good cover.
Good. Pretty cool.
Yeah, man. When you talk about like pushing the buttons, no one's ever made me more emotional than Robin Hobb. Nobody.
Oh, totally.
Not even close.
In a good way and in a bad way. You know what I mean? In both, like with joy and like, you know, actually that's the other thing. I took my like Ghost thing, and since Jon Snow abandoned Ghost, I took my Ghost Funko Pop and crossed it out, and I turned it into a Night Eyes.
Let's
Funko
go.
Pop.
The best animal companion in the genre.
Dude, and like the conclusion and stuff too, like that part, I forget. It's been a while since I read them, but whatever one, you know what I mean? There's like that whole kind of ripping apart of everything, and it was just like crushed. My wife's like, dude, are you crying right now? I'm like, no, dude, I'm just
Someone's cutting onions, bro.
Yeah. Oh my god. Oh, so good.
I remember there's a specific moment in Ship of Destiny that I won't spoil for people who haven't read it. But Ship of Destiny is the only book I've ever put down out of anger. Not anger because I was mad at the book for making a bad decision, but because such a visceral gut reaction to a scene where I think I had 80 pages left, and I was like, I'll finish it tonight, and I didn't pick it up for another 2 days. Robin Hobb, man, she will. And the thing about Robin Hobb, and I've actually seen some people misconstrue this, and I truly believe some people think that Robin Hobb, she will put her characters through a lot. And some people say, like, did she need to do this much abuse in a book? Or did she need to do this? And I firmly believe that Robin Hobb puts those in front of you in your face on purpose and says, this is what this is. There's no excuse for it, but this is what this is. And now you have to process this. And so many times, even in real life, things happen to people. And there's always a, well, this or well, that. And Robin Hobb just says, no, this is abuse. And now deal with it. Yeah. And some people take that as maybe, I guess I would use the word cheap, or some people think it's excessive. But I don't think that. I think that she makes us face the darkest parts of humanity. And you grow with these characters and you love these characters, even the side characters, even from a first person perspective, she rounds them out. And when things happen to them, I mean, it feels like it's happening to your family, to your best friends. And it just, I mean, nothing has ever rocked me quite like her stories. And I'll be honest, since I finished out Assassin's Fate, I'll be honest, like I've had a really hard time. I've read some really good characters. I've gotten, a lump in the throat at some stuff I've read, but I have failed to interact with an imaginary cast of characters like I have since Realm of the Elderlings.
And she brought it home with that last book. You know what I mean? Like that was just absolutely crushed. And it kind of like tied up all like, it kind of like had the crossover component of all the other books and stuff. That was just like, oh God, so good. And it's not just like the happy ending stuff. And I think you're right. Like that's what Erickson gets, kind of bagged on a lot for too, is like for that like kind of like in your face stuff. It's like, no, dude, even with like Fitz and the skilling and stuff, you know what I mean? It's not like this story of like overcoming, to triumph and stuff. It's not like Rudy or something where it's like, oh, he's down and out, and then it's like you battle back, you freaking just keep your nose to the grindstone, and then you get to charge out there on the field and get hoisted up by the team and stuff. It's like, no, dude, he was freaking jacked up from the fucking abuse for like his whole life. You know what I mean? And it's like that's what happens when you get abused. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, does that suck? Is that like poor guy and stuff? It's like, yeah, like stuff that happened when you were a little kid, like freaking can jack you up for forever. So
yeah, and a lot of his biases he is faced with as he overcomes and connects with the Fool, and I think that Robin Hobb does a very good job of not just taking us on a significant person's journey, but also showing the cost of that journey. And Fitz will make a heroic decision, and it might turn out to be a disaster. And I like the fact that it's not always the right choice. I like the fact that he can be frustrating and he's flawed. And I actually will push back. I'm starting to push back on people because a lot of people say Fitz is so stupid. And yes, Fitz can be stupid. I mean, I was stupid until like last week, and I'm still pretty dumb. But I think we actually get more, and this is and I guess to make this more broad for those who haven't read Realm of the Elderlings, but a really masterful way of doing first person perspective is the fact that we see that through their lens. And Fitz has some of the lowest self esteem I've ever seen in the character, and you don't realize it. And I'm very self-deprecating. So I think sometimes when someone tells me I'm good at something or someone compliments me, it legitimately does take me back most of the time. I've built confidence over the years, but there's still times someone will come up to me and give me a compliment, and it almost takes you out of yourself. You're almost like, wait, you really view me like that? And I think that Robin Hobb took the first person perspective and just mastered that piece, because Fitz is so self-deprecating and so insecure that as the reader, we then see Fitz as he sees himself, where in the later series, with all the history and people know the cost that he's paid, they see him in a more positive light than he sees himself. And then you start to have that realization as well.
Totally. And like, you're like, oh my God, dude, like, bro, give yourself a little bit of credit, right? But it's like, yeah, and I think that's like, it's interesting because I have one of my sisters was like adopted, and I have like a couple family members, but it's like, there's like a thing that sticks with, you know what I mean? It's like, even if you go to like a good family and stuff, there's like this lingering thing of like, you know what I mean? This was like my very first like set of things, events, like life events that happened, was like people basically for whatever reason, and his wasn't like you know it was like politically motivated, I guess would be the kind of way to couch it and stuff. It wasn't like anything inherent about him, but it's like, it's still like fundamentally like jacks you up, you know what I mean? And I think like, I don't know, that's why like I think the empaths of the world are gonna like vibe with the book more, because it's like, if you're not in his head, and like, it all makes sense from the standpoint of the guy's psychology, right? And like where he's at, and like if you can put yourself in those shoes, it's like, yeah, dude, the guy's like kind of thirsting for acceptance and like wants some of these people to like, you know what I mean, he just wants to like belong basically and stuff. And it all makes perfect sense through that lens, you know what I mean? But it's like, if you're just like more of an outside observer, like, dude, well, when's he gonna kick somebody's ass? You know what I mean? Then it's like, yeah,
the book titles are very deceptive as well. Assassin,
and then it's like, yeah. But even like his assassin things, I think like even in the first book, it was like, yeah, I went out and assassinated people, and then it was like he comes back and but it's like all that stuff is like the off-screen stuff.
Yeah,
like, here's how I felt about like going on this mission.
Yeah, I was telling my wife, that happens in Dune. Dune, the movie, some of the best action scenes I've seen in the last like 10 years, guys. I'm telling you, you got to go see it. But I told my wife, I said, a lot of the action in Dune happens off page. Like, it's very much about the fallout. It's very much about the consequence of being the chosen one.
Yeah.
It's funny because Farseer and all the other series in the series of Realm of the Elderlings, it is like that. It's very much not about him being an assassin.
Totally. And I love it too, because it's like the opposite with Keneb, who's like such a fascinating character too, because it's like the opposite, right? Because he's like a total scumbag who's like dope on the surface or whatever. Everybody's like, this dude's awesome.
So true. Oh man, I'm so happy that I could have you on for this, because you're the Malazan guy. I mean, you're a staple in that community, and for good reason, I think. But you've read a lot of other stuff, and I imagine you have a lot to talk about. So I'm curious, like, where did and I think you said it might have happened in adulthood, but like, what got you into fantasy?
What got me into fan? I think it was like, just kind of being at a crossroads in my life where I was just like grinding, and I was like, not finding a lot of like hobby type activities. I had like a little kid. I was like in my very late 20s, and I was like nose to the ground. I was in consulting back in a former life, and I used to work like all the time, like literally just like work like 12-hour days, and just like kind of getting burned out and grinding, and picked up the Ice and Fire books on a recommendation from a guy that I worked with, because I was like, dude, you're just always like, taking a break outside, like reading, like what's your deal? You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, it's not like how to like, I was like, is that where you're getting all your stock tips or something? And he was like, oh, it's like this book, and they're like freaking, dragon eggs and all. And I was like, what? So I like read it, and this was like right like after, or I guess right before there was like going to be a show. And then it was like, yeah, check out the show. So I like kind of bought the first book, and I like checked it out. And then I saw like the first out, and I was like, oh my God, this is that. I was like, holy cow. It's like, yeah, I'm going to read it. And so then I just like charged through all the first 4 books, like pretty much like the week that the first couple weeks that the very first episode of the show came out. And then and then just sat there for so long waiting for, you know, the 5th book to come out, and then read that in a week, and then pretty much just started burning through stuff. Then I did Wheel of Time on same guy's recommendation, and that was cool. That was like finished, and it was big and chunky, and I kind of like that aspect of like, you know, wow, I've never read 5 books in a row before, you know what I mean? Like 5 books that were all like one book, and you know what I mean? I was like literally reading just like econ journals and like small, like, you know what I mean, books about this or that on like business stuff. And and so I was like, yeah, no, this is dope. I could go for a 13 or a 14 book series. And I read Wheel of Time, and I was super into that. I know there's like mad Wheel of Time haters out there, but I'm still
riding with them.
I still like it for what it is. You know what I mean? You're not going to find me. I don't have any objective basis for judging books anyway. You know, and so for me, it's like, yeah, it was enjoyable for what it was. Like now, after I've read like a lot of other stuff that was, I think, like more adult and whatever, that it probably wouldn't have appealed to me as much on a first try now, but for where I was back then, I was like, yeah, this is dope. Quest, like good versus evil, you know, crazy stuff. I was like, that dude's shooting, you know, friggin' lightning bolts out of his hands and all that stuff. So I was,
it has a lot of good stuff in it for sure.
And like for me, like not having read a lot prior to that too, like there was a lot of like prominent female characters that were super badass, even if not in their kind of like, you know, how they comported themselves in their interpersonal relationships necessarily, but at least like power level wise, like, you know, I think he wrote them a little bit probably immature in some cases, but they were teenagers too, which is, you know what I mean, teenagers are immature
and going through a pretty tough time for sure.
Totally. So just you know what I mean, but they were freaking badass in terms of power, dude. You get like a Gwen who'll freaking mess people up, you know what I mean? And so I thought like all of that was kind of new and refreshing. So I'm pumped for the show. I think the show, they can like kind of fix some of the deficiencies, like, you know what I mean? Because a lot of the deficiencies are like just a function of cutting dead wood, I think, and you can tighten it all up and make
I agree with you actually. So in the IMAX theater, they played the Wheel of Time little teaser trailer. Like, dude, and I will say this. So I enjoyed the trailer. I actually have liked everything. There's only like the only one thing I didn't really like was the White Cloaks outfits. Not a big fan of those.
Okay.
But it's seeing that on an IMAX screen, dude, I was like, this looks really good. Like I'd watched on my phone. I think I even watched on my computer, and you know, I was excited. But seeing it on a big screen, I was like, man, as long as the writing's solid, like it could be really, really good.
Yeah, totally. I don't know how good Amazon is at writing and stuff. You know, there's not like a lot of really dope Amazon shows, but The Expanse is pretty good.
Oh,
you know
The Expanse was good. I like Man in the High Castle as well.
Oh, I keep wanting to watch that.
Yeah, I actually. So have you read the books?
No.
Or the book, I should say.
No.
So I've never really read any of his books, Philip K. Dick, but I would like to read that book, because if the book is better than the show, this is not in a popular opinion. A lot of people think the show is fine. I love the show because I think the premise is just, I love alternate history. I think
me too. That's why I love Wild Cards, man. The Martin Wild Cards stuff.
Have you read those? Because I've been thinking about it.
All those, get into those, bro. If you like comics, if you like alternate history, it's like a mashup between comics, fantasy, and like something like that. Because I am so down for the cause on those. I would rep those.
Where do you start with Wild Cards? Where should I start?
I would start at the very beginning. Start with the very first book. You can get it like on Kindle. I think they have like the first 4 book like thing as a little Kindle pack or something. Or I think you can even get the first 4 as hardbacks. They like did a reprint and they're like $10 on Amazon or something like that.
Might have to do it.
But yeah, because it's all about like basically starting in like 1940 something, right? Like whatever. And like it's like real world history up to that point. And then there's like an alien virus that gets released. And then like every book from then on is like, so there's like real people and like pop culture references, but like instead, you know what I mean? Like Buddy Holly never died in a plane crash, but he like caught the virus and now he has like mental telepathy and like all this stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's dope. Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Folks, did everyone know this and not tell me? Because I always just look at Wild Cards announcements and I go, well, it's not the win's a winner, and then I just move on, right? But I actually like George's other works. Like Fever Dream is one of my it's my favorite vampire novel. I actually like it more than Salem's Lot, which is saying a lot because I love Salem's Lot. So that's exciting, and I do love alternate history. It's one of my favorite things. I'm actually I'm kicking around the idea. Have you ever heard of? I always forget the name, but it's basically like you write a novel within a month in November. Have you ever heard
Oh
of
no,
this?
no.
Nanowrimo or something like that. But
Oh wow,
so the whole idea is you write 50,000 words in 1 month, and it's in every
wow.
November. I think it's like for charity. Like a lot of people do it for charity or something. But I'm doing a terrible job of representing. Someone's mad right now, I'm sure.
Put
But
it in the comments, guys.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. If you know it, yeah, Nanowrimo. Yes, thank you, Alan. All right, here I'll put it up on the screen. Go check out their website. They do a lot of cool things for kids. But I was thinking about doing it, and I was actually thinking about writing an alternate history, or maybe just a historical fantasy about the Bronze Age collapse, because I think it's
Oh yeah.
fascinating. I think it's just It was like it was like an apocalyptic event, essentially, right? And I just love stories like that. I just read my first Guy Gavriel novel, which was Alliance of Al Rasan, and I really enjoyed it. And I think that alternate history and historical fantasy is something I need to get a lot more into. I think it's going to be a big hit with me going forward.
It's fun, man. You like it because then it's like there's something to grab onto, you know what I mean? But then they just kind of take it and riff on it, and it's like they got a license to just do whatever. So
Yeah, man. You got me fired up for Wild Card. So
I think
I
we're
know
gonna,
George edits them, so he wrote some too. Then
yeah, and that's he writes a little bit of them, and like I think what's cool is they're like mosaic novels, which I've never had any experience with mosaic novels before, but it's
what does
like
that mean?
they're like 10 authors in one book, so it's like each
Okay,
author is like writing a character basically, and like it's kind of like a Crash or like a Traffic or something where it's like the stories are somehow like connected and you don't really like understand how, but eventually like the kind of pieces converge, and so like each author kind of writes a tiny bit of like the other person's character when they like interact, and then there'll be but it like ends up being a kind of cohesive story written by like 10 different people. So it's like I don't know how they do it. They must like mastermind out all the key plot points or something in advance, and then they kind of go
yeah,
off and do their thing or something, but it works, and it's like a chunky comic that's just super fun and kind of fantasy-ish, and yeah,
that's
dark
really
and
cool.
gritty. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm definitely down to try it because I'm not huge into comic books, but I did just read my first manga ever. And
Uh-huh.
I've tried manga before. It's not really my thing. Um, and I wouldn't say it's still probably not my thing, but I just read the first book, which is a collection for the Vinland Saga, which is based on like Norse stuff.
Okay.
Really
Yeah.
good, and it kind of made me realize I should probably try to like open up a little bit more. And then reading Guy Gavriel, which is more historical fantasy, I'm like, there's a
Yeah.
lot of good storytelling going on out there that I should give a shot.
Yeah, and the wild cards are good too because I think they get like powerhouse people, but it's introduced me to a lot of good authors and stuff like Carrie Vaughn and like the guys who did Expanse, write some
Daniel Abraham,
characters, and yeah,
yeah,
Ty Frank I think has written
yep.
a couple, and John Joss, you know, Miller. So there's a lot to like about those. They're super fun and easy. Like I like them as a palate cleanser too because they're not like
Yeah.
super contemplative, philosophical, like things where it's like you're diving deep. It's like no, it's a guy whose face is like half tiger, half man, and he has a freaking Tommy gun and he's out robbing. You know what I
That
mean?
sounds amazing.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, that's like absurdism at its finest. I like the sound of that. I'm
yeah.
legitimately gonna order wild card. I can't believe I'm ordering wild cards because I've always made fun of it because I'm always angry it's not wins a winner. But you know what? I
Yeah,
got time.
100%.
I
Oh,
got
I've
time.
been there, bro. Yeah, no, I was in the support group for Wins a Winner for many 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 years.
Well, let me ask you this. You seem like a pretty level-headed person. What are your feelings about waiting so long for the wins a winner?
I'm bummed to have the kind of be spoiled, I guess, basically, because even though I don't think they like, you know what I mean, it's gonna be like a
Yeah.
carbon copy and whatever. I think like they probably are gonna hit the main themes that they just like kind of rushed it and just went from plot point, like bullet point to bullet point, where it was like, hey, these 10 things need to happen. And they're like, cool, we're just gonna get those 10 things on screen then and call it instead, like without building up a lot of the like connective tissue that would have taken you from guidepost to
And
guidepost.
missing a lot of those pieces like Lady Stoneheart, Young Griff,
Totally, dude. Like all the
basically
motivators
I
that would have
said dude.
made, yeah,
Dorn, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
totally. No, and so yeah, but at the same time, it's his kind of deal. You know what I mean? I think
Mhm.
like he, there's something to be said for the guy having gone basically like 60 years of his life without any like taste of the real like success, and then to like get it and to be able to like, satisfy. Like I can kind of relate in a way, you know what I mean? Where it's like, you then there's like all these fun, exciting, like shiny things that you want to do. And like, so many cool like people with dope channels that you want to collab with, right? That then it kind of can like sidetrack you off your like primary objective. And so I'm like sympathetic because it's like, the guy only gets one shot at life. And he like, but like selfishly, I'm like, man, I want to see the proper, conclusion too. So, but I know that's like pure selfishness, but man, I have really have thirsted over that for like 10 years running. I used to actually get up every single day and check the Nada blog. Like that was the first thing. I would just get up and be like, is it out, and just like that was my morning.
Yeah, I still check it every few days. I really do. It's usually him complaining about the Jets, which I still, it's weird, I still read them. I still, even if they don't have anything to do with his writing, I read them because I just think, I don't know, I like to know what's going on with the old Georgie.
I have an addictive personality, and so like I felt like it was a sign of personal growth for me to like wean myself off the Nada blog, you know what I mean? Because that's how bad I really was thirsting for. And honestly, like that, that's why I can't hate on it too, because that was what really got me out and exploring for more stuff. Was like I read that first book, and I watched that first episode of the show. And that's when I like realized, I was like, holy cow, this is like deep. This wasn't just like a nerdy thing about some nerds firing lasers out of a magic wand, right? Like this was like deep stuff of like, and I was like, what else can I read? And so like for that, I can't ever hate on him for that.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the case for a lot of people. I've said this before on this show, but that's why I started my channel. My whole channel was finding the next A Song of Ice and Fire for myself because it blew me away. Nice. And I have not found it yet. Realm of the Elderlings was the closest to it, and I think I've moved on from that kind of concept or that challenge to myself. Quite a bit. But man, he has introduced me to so many series because it made me. It's okay to be a fan. It's okay to read fantasy. And, some people would say, well, you should have known that all along. You're probably right. But we kind of talked about it earlier, but the nonfiction readers run the world. It's pretty clear, right?
Totally, dude. If you're like set on global domination, I mean, if you just like look out around the world, right? Like people in power positions, like they're mostly lawyers, right? Like the vast majority of like people in Congress, even like people who are CEOs and stuff, they like, are like, usually they used to be like the general counsel, like advising the old CEO, and then that guy retires or girl or whatever. And then it's like that person's in the position. And so it's like, it's all about like reading biographies, right? And like reading like The Art of War and all that,
So. Tale of Two Cities maybe or something.
If you're like oh, if I really want to like be flesh out my creative juices, then it's like they'll read like some Charles Dickens or something, and that is like the biggest stretch, right? Which I love Dickens, and everyone should go refresh on the Dickens too. But it's like for them, that's like, dude, that's fantasy to them, you know what I mean? That's like so unreality of like of reading about mundane concerns like society, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that people flock to those articles, say 10 books Elon Musk says you must read now. And I'm always like, I don't give a shit what Elon Musk reads.
Totally.
Like, I would rather know what, like George R. Martin read. I would rather see someone who has an appreciation for the art, because it's always the same 10 books. And every time, I just roll my eyes because, he's not a bazillionaire because of the books he read. Right. Sure, they might have had an impact on him, but that did not quantify into dollars into his bank account. And I just always cringe at those articles, dude. Secretly, I just want it to be about me.
Yeah, exactly.
It is interesting though. My wife was telling me on the way to Dune, she has a coworker who hates movies, like going to the movies, hates movies.
My wife. Yeah.
Interesting.
Can't get her to watch a movie with me. Can't get her to go to a movie with me. I've spent many Saturdays by myself in a theater, and then like everyone else turns their like, partner or whatever. And it's like, oh my God, did you believe that? And then I'm always just like looking around by myself going, I don't get it. How could you not like movies?
So does she like TV shows or anything?
She does like TV shows, yeah, but she
Okay.
likes like procedural, like crime shows and stuff, which I can't get into. I don't know what her deal is. I'm always like, dude, what about this? This is gonna be a great movie that you'd like. And then she's like, sometimes I'll hold the gun to her head. She'll watch it. She'll be like, sounds all right.
Yeah, I think whenever you're, because there's like some people, like I believe her coworker is not a fan of really any kind of entertainment, like just
Oh,
not
okay.
not into anything unless her
Yeah.
kids are watching it. And I think it's like just one of those things where people really dismiss how well-rounded fiction in general can make you in entertainment, whether whatever media it might be, reading or movies or television or whatever it might be. Um, there's something to be said about well-roundedness when it comes to culture, and I think it builds, like, well, obviously we've talked about empathy tonight, but also understanding of other people. And sometimes, for people, that live in certain places where they don't see a lot of different walks of life, sometimes that's the only representation, which can also be a bad thing, right? If it's not done properly. But it's strange because I think people undervalue how much like movies and television and books really can round out you as a person.
Totally. Yeah, and you get like exposure to stuff, you know what I mean? It's like you can't really know what it was like to like live in Nazi Germany and stuff, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like you can go like watch movies or whatever and like find, you know what I mean, like some actual like knowledge there and just like perspective and whatever. Like I'm like one of the most sheltered upbringing type people, you know what I mean? And it was like that's why I always was into the movies, you know what I mean? It was like and books and stuff, and even like Greek mythology and stuff, you know what I mean? I was like, I live in freaking super rural, East County of San Diego, and like, there's like Greek gods doing all this stuff, and like, you know what I mean? The X-Men where Wolverine can like shoot that, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, I think all that stuff goes like a really, really long way. And I think about how many people I've connected with that I might not have been able to connect with if I hadn't liked certain movies and stuff like that. You could be on the total outs with somebody and they quote your favorite movie and you go, wait, what? It's like Step Brother. Did we just become best friends?
Yeah,
There's
totally.
a real connection to be said for, and to keep in the context of what we do here, books. That's what we're doing right now. Me and Iskar have never chatted before today. I mean, we've commented back and forth, but we have
Yeah.
never spoke in person. But knowing what I know of you and your opinions on some of the series that I love, immediately there's a connection there that you can just run with and learn a lot about each other through. So
Totally.
I always think it's weird when people kind of undervalue those things.
I'm guilty of it. I totally kind of like brushed the importance of it under the carpet, and I thought I was like, doing myself a favor and being like, you know what I mean, like living up to the ideal, and I was just cheating myself. So hey, but better late than never.
I feel so fortunate that I read the books when I did, Song of Ice and Fire when I did at the
Yeah,
exact same time in life. It's funny. When I first watched the show, I didn't like it.
yeah, because it
Yeah,
wasn't
like
as like
I just
verbatim,
I just kind of
basically.
hate watched it. I was like, this is stupid. And I definitely was that person. I think in my early 20s, that was trying too hard to be serious. I'm a serious person, which is
Yeah. Oh,
ridiculous.
me too. Yeah.
I was spending my weekends wrestling in tights in front of
Right.
thousands of people that were drunk. I mean, it's kind of silly now that I think about it. But I was curious. Have you read any Tad Williams?
No Tad Williams. No, I saw that comment. I
Brother.
haven't got there yet.
Yeah, Edgar was saying the Prime Minister of Canada has Tad Williams on his bookshelf, which tells me he's at least someone I could get along with. Man, you got to read some. I know everyone
Is
tells
that
you what to
right?
read.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that on my list because I have a list going on my phone. I've already got like a whole stack of stuff that just comes highly recommended that I have up there waiting for me to kick my kids out of the house and have time for.
Yeah, I think that Tad's a really special guy, man.
Yeah.
I think based on like a conversation we're having here, like I really feel like Tad it would resonate a lot with you. He's also very much like Jordan Erickson, where he does everything so well. I think he writes wonderful plots. I actually think he's one of the best plotters I've read.
Wow.
It's kind of weird. He doesn't really get mentioned. Like a lot of people talk about Brandon Sanderson and things about that. And I do enjoy most of Brandon Sanderson's plots, especially how he has all these like just ties that come together at the end. And you're like, how did you figure that out?
Yeah.
Tad's been doing that for decades.
Wow.
And I just picked up his sequel trilogy, at least now it's a quartet because he had to split the last book. But of what is out, I've actually just picked it up. And I think I'm going to be getting to that in 2022. I'm really excited.
Nice. Yeah. I have so much stuff that I want to get going on. I just actually picked up the whole Discworld, like what's it called? Discworld hardback library, something.
Somewhere
And
Alan in chat just pumped his fist. That's his like favorite thing ever.
Well, the reason Alan and Raph are the two people who really like have talked up Discworld, and I have a daughter who, and I know that they're accessible. She's like a Harry Potter fanatic. That's like was her kind of like quarantine crutch, was she read Harry Potter, like 150 times and just like got super into it. So I know there's some that I think are like, ready for that. And so I thought next year we could start cracking into those, and I got the whole thing. So I thought it'd be fun to just like kind of see how Pratchett's evolution goes over time too. So
that's awesome.
The books like look dope. Go look them up online. That Discworld hardback library or whatever it's called. They're like freaking cool, like eye candy too.
Let's take a look. Discworld hardback. I'm
they're
very
called the hardcover library or something like that.
Hardcover library. We're doing this live because
let's do it live.
I have a Mort paperback and it's hideous, and it bothers me because I loved Mort. That's the only Terry Pratchett I've read so far, and oh my goodness, I mean I love that book. Oh, these are beautiful.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, they're very cool.
Okay, well.
So I'm trying to get the
here we go.
sponsorship or something, because those things are like, they're holding you over the coals for them, shall we say.
Yeah, I know my wife's watching and she's just shaking her head right now like, you just got that folio society, you need to chill.
Yeah, so, sorry about that. That's my bad.
We're enabling here at the Fantasy Network. We're always encouraging people to spend money on books. It keeps the world going. You're an economist,
I'm the wrong kind of friend if you're like on a fiscal prudence kind of kick. You know what I mean? Because I'm a terrible influence. I'm like, what else is cool that I can like waste all my hard work on?
Hey, I always say it's cheaper than cars and a lot of other like boats and such, right? So. It's at least advice that isn't terribly expensive, and I can stop whenever I want, man. Like I swear.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally, bro. Not a problem, dude.
Oh man, Jake Bishop is saying, I know a bunch of people are doing Memory Star and Thorn in January, March 2022. If anyone wants to join in, if anyone's listening and wants to do that, I highly suggest reading Memory Star and Thorn. You can hit up Jake and over at Jake's channel. He does some really good quality reviews, and I'm excited to see what he's going to have to say about. Frankly, one of the best trilogies I've ever read in my life. Alan said I literally ran from the kitchen when I heard Discworld.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I'm going to try and sell him on those books, right? We're going to just start slowly planting seeds, and then eventually he's going to succumb to becoming a Discworld junkie with you, Alan.
I mean, Mort was fantastic, and everything I hear about guards, the working man, I'm going to be in.
And I heard there's some like economics based ones that I can like do the kind of super nerd crossover about like the creation of money and stuff like that. So
yes, I've definitely heard about the economic ones, and I feel like that you're going to just eat that up. Me, I just go, I ask you questions. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's like whenever I see,
I probably won't understand it either. Honestly, I'll be like Googling stuff. So
that's like when people ask me programming questions, like coding questions. 90% of the time, I go, "Oh, I just Google it. I don't know."
I was working with a guy in an office, and he was doing an MBA, and he had to take like entry level econ. And he's like, "Can you help me with my homework?" And I was like giving him like these answers, and the teacher was like, "No, that's incorrect." And it was like just a way too complicated, like philosophical. Like I was like questioning the premise of the thing. He's like, "I just want you to answer the question."
Yeah, so I'm self-taught. I didn't go to college for computer science or anything like that. Yeah. So I sometimes they'll ask us sit in on interviews, and we're asking these whiteboard questions for these algorithms, and I'm just sitting there like, this is BS, man. I couldn't solve these. Like I don't know what they're talking about. It feels dirty. I'm like.
I'm a certain kind of economist anyways too, so I don't even fit in around other economists. They're like the smart ones and whatever, and I'm always like the one who I say stuff, and they're like, "Oh, I loved how you said that like in such simple words." I was like, those are the biggest words I knew. Like,
yeah, dude, I've made a career now in coding from being able to break things down to people in layman's terms, because that's how I had to break it down to teach myself. I taught at a boot camp for a little bit at my last place. We ran like a weekend school to teach people how to code, and that was the thing I think I was most successful at, is trying to break down those concepts and deliver them in a tangible and digestible way. But when I get in a room with these engineers, I got a meeting this week, man. I'm just like, what are you guys talking about? I'm sticking on audiobook. Like, I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm good.
exactly. That's what's up.
Seth asks, have either of you read any Clive Barker? This is someone I keep getting recommended to me. I have not read any Clive Barker yet. Have you?
Barker. Oh no, I got R. Scott Backer recommended to me, and that is one of the books that I want to dive into. Yeah, that's
I just
one.
reviewed it here on the channel, and I'm so ecstatic. It actually did quite well. And I don't say that because I want all my videos to get 10 million views or anything like that. I say that because I think this book is talked about a lot for its grimness.
Yeah.
And so is the whole trilogy. And I'm going to start book 2 in the next week or two. But this series is very much fawned over for its grimness, and that's fair. But the writing is beautiful, in my opinion. Very Erickson-esque.
That's what I heard.
It kind of reminds me a little bit of Guy Gavriel K as well.
Okay.
And I just love the way this book reads, man. And dude, I'm telling you, you're gonna love it, especially how you like the dense series. Like, obviously, you got into Wheel of Time, you got into Laws and Song of Ice Fire. This is something you can sink your teeth into and really think about. I read this book about a month ago, and I haven't went a day since not thinking about it. It's incredible, bro.
It's one of the ones that's really high up on my list of like wanting to try, because like the people who recommended it and what they said about it just sounds like it checks my boxes in a major way. So
yeah, it's gonna be.
I'm almost done with a big project, and then I'm gonna have some time on my hands, hopefully.
Yeah, man, I think you're really going to enjoy it. And that's one of the things I said in my review is like, I feel like it's not for everybody, but it's for a lot more people than it seems. And especially in a lot of ways, you know, Dune's high up on the popularity scale right now. In a lot of ways, it feels like a take on the Chosen One trope, very similar to Paul.
Wow.
And the way I said it in my no spoiler review is, imagine Paul, but he's a sociopath, you know, with that kind of power.
Yeah. Well, I heard like the later books, which I haven't read any of the like the late Dune stuff by the kid or whatever, but you know, I heard he kind of has like a little, you know, flip out kind of thing happen down the road, or like, you know what I mean? He kind of becomes, he's not the benevolent dictator that he was setting out to be, I guess.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a critique on the power and being chosen and all of that. And I think Baker, man, the world that he built, I mean, it is dense, but it's good. You know, it's not dry, I guess, is the best way I could put it over. But knowing you and knowing that you like Erickson, you're gonna love it.
Some of the people who really liked Malazan have said that it was like, you know, these books were the best that they ever read. So I was like, oh damn, all right, I'll check that out.
I mean, for a debut, it's no one has any business writing a debut that good. Nobody. Like, just ridiculous, man. I can't wait to get the book too. I've been thinking about it a lot. Another nice thing about this series, for people out there saying I can't add any more to my TBR, it has the story thus far section at the beginning of each book.
Oh yeah.
And it was 25 pages long. So like, it legit recaps book 1 beautifully. Nice. I kind of wish I would have read that before I did my review a month, you know, after I read it. So I did forget some stuff. And I wish I would have read the recap before I did my review, because there's so many more things I forgot about, you know.
100%. Yeah, exactly. That's every book for me. I'm like, I don't know what book that was. Especially with Malazan, I'm the worst, because I like, when I originally got it, I was using like the 10-book consolidated Kindle edition. So it's like, I really have, honestly, like, there was not even a physical like transition from one book to the next. It was like, I literally just like went like this, and I was just into the next book. So it's like, I have no idea what happened. I'm better now, but you know, 3 months from now, it's going to go away again.
Yeah, being on a first read through, even with physical books, I can tell you right now, a lot of stuff blurs the lines. Gardens of the Moon stands out pretty significantly on its own.
Yeah.
But after that, you know, I was looking over my notes for House of Chains, because I'm going to be doing a discussion for that coming up. And yeah, I was like, I thought that happened in Midnight Tide. Nope, it happened in House of Chains. So I totally understand where you're coming from with that.
Totally. Gardens of the Moon's good because there's so many callbacks. Like, the further you go into the series, you're like, oh my God, dude, he was like planning this out for like a long time. Like, that was actually like, you know, all this stuff that I just thought was super, like, world building, like freaking, you know, grandstanding or whatever, was like, no, those were actual like things.
Yeah, it's kind of impressive for someone to have that much foresight down the line. One of the things, and it's actually a video I think I'm going to be doing here on the channel for those who are interested. I'm going to be going over Gurm's original outline that he sent to his publisher. And
oh, that was dope. I read that too.
Yeah, very interesting stuff. A lot of stuff I'm glad he didn't continue with.
The incest stuff would have been like, dude, come on, one set of yeah, let's keep that isolated to one side of people who are
the John Arya thing. It's like, maybe you shouldn't do that, George.
not into that. Yeah.
It's interesting though, rereading Game of Thrones now, because the last time I had reread it, I hadn't read that. So I'm thinking about, just all this stuff that George had laid out, thinking about this outline that he wrote, and then where he took it instead. And it's just so impressive that it still makes sense.
Yeah.
Totally. I didn't know he switched his outline. I had no idea he switched his plans because he left so many things open-ended.
Totally.
And there's almost like a master. It's like a craft, to do that. Erickson is so impressive with that, latching onto a single sentence,
Yeah. Well, and he's good because he can also like get all the work done too. You know what I mean? And like bring it to fruition or whatever. Like that's the thing with George is like, and that's why I like it too. You know what I mean? It's like that's why it really is like an art and a craft in a way. You know what I mean? Versus like the Sanderson architect thing. But it's like, I'm trying to like build this bookcase, and it's like he definitely takes like the write out a plan, you know what I mean, and like do cut, you know what I mean. He gets his cut list or whatever, and he does like all the cuts at once, and then he goes through and like screws all the sides again, and it's like more of a like kind of assembly line kind of approach to it or whatever. And it's like it is an art to be able to just like freewheel it and make, you know what I mean, and be like, oh, this would be a great time to bring this thing back in, and to like kind of, you know what I mean. And so then to like see Erickson do that and then also like punch him out. Dude, he was churning those books out too. Like,
that's the thing.
The productivity is like, so to be able to do both, you know what I mean? It's like have the epicness, have the quality, have the lasers and the fireballs, and to like punch out a book like every year or every other year is just like, dude is
and just keeping all that lore in line. I mean,
superhuman.
Yeah. That dude does not get enough credit for his work ethic. I really don't think he does. We always talk about.
That's like where Cam comes in too, because I heard he like calls up and goes, "What about this and that too?" Like, you know what I mean? What happened and when we gamed this and stuff, and so like that's why Esselmont stuff is so good too, and like there's so much meat on the bone because that dude is like the guy who was like there on the ground, like world building, and then like taking notes about like what you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I think definitely having a buddy, like Philip said, when you game in the world that you're writing in, it probably helps quite a bit. And I think that is definitely a good thing to have Ice, sitting there. Ice being Ian Esselmont for those watching. I just call him Ice because it's easier.
Preach, Jack.
Yeah, Jack is saying, he asked me, Jimmy Nuts. That's weird saying that from third person. Will you be doing Esselmont's Malaz and stuff after Eric, since he is underrated and writes a great fantasy? It's really cool to see more of the Malaz world. Well, Jack, and Iskar, you'll probably be happy to hear this. I actually read Night of Knives. I finished Midnight Tides. I knew it was going to be about a month before I could get to the Bone Hunters because I needed to get some other stuff done. I said, let's read Night of Knives. It's quick. Turns out, great October book, very atmospheric,
perfect Halloween vibes, right?
Yes, and it was all an accident. And I said, I read The Only Good Indians, which was phenomenal, by the way, and Night of Knives was just as horror driven, in my opinion. I really liked Night of Knives. I really did. I really loved the beginning, and I really loved the ending. There was some things in the middle, a couple of recurrences that weren't my favorite things in the world, but certainly a great debut for him. That was his debut,
I think so. Yeah. I think actually it was the first book he put out. I think he might have wrote Return of the Crimson Guard first, maybe. But...
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. So everyone has, there seems to be two camps. One that thinks it's a super big improvement for the world, and then there's a camp that say, I believe Erickson's writing is Malaz. And for me, I was shocked by how good his prose were. I really thought that it was excellent. And I like I said, there was some story beats that I maybe didn't love the most. I will be doing a review of that, by the way, for anyone watching. I'll do a new spoiler review for Night of Knives. But I liked it. I really liked it. And it told me that, okay, I am going to be doing Esselmont stuff, but I will not read any more Esselmont until I'm done with the first 10. I really want to get that out. And then it'll probably be like once every 2 to 3 months. Yeah.
That's how I did it. I recommend doing that, even though there's like the proponents of mixing are so, tenacious in there, or they're very vocal. But I think, you know what I mean? For me, it was less about plot continuity and more about like continuity of voice and stuff, because they do have like different writing styles, which you'll, have noticed. Obviously, like Night of Knives is, a totally different ball of wax writing style wise. So for me, it was like better just to stay in Erickson's head and to continue like just powering through. So I think you're doing it the right way, and the haters can be damned.
That's right. And actually, someone asked earlier, they actually asked you directly. I never got to put it up, so I apologize. If you're still watching, I apologize. But they actually asked, they said, Iskar, do you recommend doing it after? And that's your answer, folks. Iskar seems to think that it'd probably be best after the 10. That's what I've also heard from a lot of people.
There's nothing wrong with mixing them, and it will like flesh out some plot thing, like backstory stuff that when you get to like Toll the Hound, you'll be like, oh yeah, it's you know, I see that happened. But you get that when you go back and read it, you're like, oh my god, that was what happened between Reaper's Gale and Toll the Hound. So
yeah, and I think on a reread, I would love. I think that might be what Philip and AP, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I think they're doing their reread right now in the proper order, which is
they're blending it. Yeah.
Crazy, man. That's such a huge, it's a huge commitment. Oron, good to see you, man. Says, speaking of being a lot to juggle, Jimmy, did you struggle at all with the change in setting and with whatnot in Midnight Tides? I did not, dude. I thought Midnight Tides was excellent, and I will say this: part ones of I always start off Malazan books a little bit flustered because of how hard the openings can be. But what always happens, it's like, where are we? Who are these people? Wait, I got to learn about a whole nother culture. Midnight Tides is where I accepted it. I finally just said, it's okay. It's okay to not love a part one and come back at the end and say, oh, part one was actually really good. Because I did the same thing with House of Chains. House of Chains, when I first read part one with Carson, I was like, Looking back, I go, man, part one was sick. Like, I actually want to reread it.
Totally. So now that you know what's going on and you got the connection between, like, you know, all the stuff that was in Deadhouse Gates, and you're like, holy cow, like, you see the, you know what I mean? And but I always love watching Midnight Tide reviews, because Midnight Tides is the one where people are like, dude, what the hell? Like, I was just getting my feet under me, you know what I mean? But then, and so it's like, oh my God, like, dude, it's just like it's broadening out. He's not starting to like tie stuff up, and, you know, but then it's like always gratifying at the end because people, like, you know what I mean? It's one book, you know, it's the Book of the Fallen or whatever. And so it really is like a package kind of deal. And when you get to the end and it's like, oh my God, dude, it's very gratifying.
Yeah, I feel
like they're both doing a mea culpa online. Look at that. They didn't do them in the correct order.
Cardinal sin. Fake fans.
Hey, whatever way you guys do it, that is the right way. Are you kidding?
Yeah,
me?
you can set the standard, boys. I mean,
that's right.
Well, who's going to tell you you're wrong? You go with the PhDs. Me and Iskar are just over here, just nodding our heads, just thing.
Yeah, exactly.
We're with them. Gift. Yeah, we're riding with you guys. I'm just going to parrot whatever you say. Don't worry. I actually watched Philip and AP's discussion with Esselman after I read Night of Knives, and it was excellent. If you have read Night of Knives and you have not watched that chat, you have to go watch it. Esselman is so funny. There's a point where AP goes, you know, this and this actually makes sense, and I keep telling people, like, you know, it's all a part of the plan, and it's all supposed to pan out, right? And then Esselman just goes, sometimes.
Dude, deadpan. I love it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think he's great. Esselman's strengths for me, I guess a mini review for those watching for Night of Knives. I thought his atmosphere and obviously his action were excellent. I mean, just excellent. I really enjoyed it. And Erickson's combat is something that has been a hit or miss with me. I find that in the most recent books, I've clicked with it a lot more than I did the first two. With Gardens of the Moon and Deadhouse Gates, I didn't love a lot of the combat scenes. It's getting better, but I think Esselman is fantastic at writing combat.
Yeah, and they get better and better and better. Every book that gets better just in writing quality, they have like epic, badass battles.
Yeah. So are you reading Malazan right now actively?
I am. I'm doing a 10 Very Big Books podcast series on the Ice books. So we're doing a sale right now. So that's what kind of has got me detracted a little bit from my own channel. Is reading.
So you're on that podcast right now?
Yeah, it's like we do one every other month. We cover one of those books every other month. So we started in January and we done all 5, and so now we're coming up on the grand finale. But then I'm reading House of Chains, but I still have to finish up my Memories of Ice video. I still have a commitment to doing my chapter recaps, even though I know it's not relevant anymore. But I do want to just finish off the 10 books as like a kind of personal commitment that I made to myself. And like, I was one of the only like resources that I had back when I first started reading this was there was the like Tor reread thing where there was a
Yes.
guy and a girl.
I've been using it. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were like really killer, and they did like a whole bunch, and then I think they stopped eventually on like Toll the Hound or something. I don't remember, but I always like remember thinking like this would be so badass to have one of those that was like a video like guide where it was just like here's what kind of because it is confusing and it's a lot of callbacks and stuff, and so to have somebody who's read it 4 times and to go, dude, this is that, and kind of like demystify it a little bit, like I thought would be really cool, and just like a way to get people into the books, because like my big thing was like nobody was talking about these books, and it was like everyone was like talking about Wheel of Time and even like Ice and Fire and stuff, and I was like, why is no one like talking about this? And then one day I was like watching YouTube booktube, which wasn't even like there was like barely any booktubers back like 3 years ago or whatever, and Daniel Green read like the second book, and he was like, dude, why doesn't someone have like a dedicated like
I remember that video
Malazan channel? And I was like, you know what, forget it, dude, I'm gonna freaking make it. And then like a month later I like bought a little camera and freaking like recorded a first video, and I was like, I'm gonna start reading these again for the 4th time, and I'm just gonna go like chapter by chapter through. And then it like kind of took on a little life of its own, and there was like a lot of people who had been like thirsting the same way as me, you know what I mean? And like that's why like another reason why I don't make videos now too is like there's so many awesome people talking about the books, and it's like, dude, if there would have been channels like this, I would have never ever even needed to start a channel, because all I was like, dude, well, this
but
is
you
like
stepped up, man.
These are the jam. The world needs to know, like someone has to do it. And I was like, if I make just like crappy videos with like no basis for being able to talk about books, then someone will be like, I can make a video about that better. And then that's what we got. And we're like in heaven right now with just like the most epic stuff and like so many different angles. And it's like,
yeah,
that's why you realize how good the books are too, is because like when you see people put out videos, it's like everyone like kind of keys in on a different thing. It's not like the videos are all still original even though there's like a lot of Malazan content, because it's like there's so many different things that different people latch onto, and you don't bring your own little baggage in, and it kind of just makes it super kind of interesting.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the unique amount of content or quality of content, I think that Malazan is probably the most like that, right? I hear a lot of the same takes about the same stuff, and that's great. I think everybody should get their voice out there if you want to put it out there. But Malazan, I feel like every time I watch a video, I get something new out of the book. And that's a testament to how deeply it's written and the themes. And like I love watching Andy Smith talk about it. I love hearing you talk about it. I will literally watch multiple videos about the same book. I don't do that with other series. I really don't. The only other book series I've ever done that with is A Song of Ice and Fire.
There's got to be stuff to dissect, right? I mean,
yeah, and dude, I'll be honest with you. I definitely continue your chapter recaps, because you helped me get through some chapters that I didn't actually understand. I actually told Philip that. I said, man, I need Iskar to keep going. Because I've gone past now, and I need you, man. I need your resources.
Felt bad when I first was like starting to do these. I could tell like even during the Gardens of the Moon ones that it was like my pace was like people were reading way out in front, and I was like, oh shit, this isn't gonna work. And I was like, well, and then that's when I resigned myself to like, these are just gonna be like a long-term thing that will be out there for people who stumble on this.
Well, I think it's good because people can go back,
Totally.
So one of my favorite podcasts is Bend the Knee. They're good friends of the channel, and they do A Song of Ice and Fire. They do 1 chapter a week. That's their podcast, and they have a YouTube channel if you want to check out Bend the Knee.
Nice.
But I love that because I might not always be reading with them, but I will listen in, and they cover a chapter, and I'm always in Westeros. Every week, once a week, I flip on the podcast 2 hours, and I'm in Westeros. And for you, I think you're providing something that a lot of Malazan fans who are now moving on, trying to read other things, or maybe they're in a different part of a reread. They get to go and they get to dive back in, to Genabacchus or wherever it might be. And I think that, for us diehard fans that are really into this stuff, that's a pretty big service. And sometimes that checkout, I'm an escapist for sure when I read. And sometimes getting out to Westeros, or for a Malazan fan, getting back to somewhere like Genabacchus or the Seven Cities is what we need to make our week better. So I think that you provide a really quality piece of content over there by doing those recaps, man. I really
Thanks,
do.
man. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, and I think they're fun. It's like even for me to like go back and do the reread. It's like some chapters you're like, oh, I remember that chapter. That was fun, dude. That was when such and such
Yeah.
like happened. That was dope. And like
And we forget things.
there's so much. It's crazy. Like even just reading them for the 4th time, it's like, holy cow, I freaking forgot. Like completely forgot, about this whole thing or whatever. And it's like,
yeah, I think it's Dino Collins commented, said, this is crazy. I started Malazan, and so yesterday I looked up some videos. So literally last night I watched my first video of Iskar. So grateful for his content, and then I see this tonight. Well, Dino, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you got to check out Iskar's channel. If you're not subscribed to Iskar's channel, I mean, even if you're not a Malazan fan, I bet if you go watch his beginner's guide to Malazan and you watch just some of the things, if anything, his excitement will be contagious. I guarantee you that. And he's done a fantastic job of getting people into the series. And like you said, I think you said it really well when you said that you've tried to demystify it. And I think that you've succeeded in that goal, man. I really do.
Yeah, no, it's not as bad. There's like a big hype factor around Malazan that's like, it's got a lot of baggage out there of being like super hard, super confusing. You're not going to like it. You got to read at least 3,000 pages, don't decide. And like, that's, some people are like, bro, I got to freaking read, 3,000 pages to just decide if I want to continue on with the rest of the, So.
Yeah, it's a creed. You take it on, and a lot of people get excited about that. And I think people like the challenge of Malazan too, and maybe that's where some of that hype comes from, because it is a challenge.
It is. And you finish it and you're like, bro, it's what I mean? It's a dope little club to be in, because it is like, you come through battle hardened and whatever that like, having survived, and it sets like the standard in a lot of ways too. You know what I mean? Just for like how you can do fantasy different and stuff, in the same way that like, you walk away from Ice and Fire going, oh my God, it's not just about like, a good versus evil thing. There's like, it's not just about the dragons and stuff. Like, there's a lot of elements that you're like, holy cow, it's like a Horizon Rodner, like even dummies like me can walk out and you're like, wow, I might be, a little mini philosopher now, thinking about like empathy and compassion and all the other, things.
Yeah, we come for the dragons and we stay for the lessons.
That's right. Yeah.
You know what I mean, man?
Yeah. We like to have them just, rip the heart out of the chest, throw it on the ground, tap dance on it over and over again. So.
I think that there is a very good chance, if things keep going the way they go, I could see myself in a few years maybe settling down and doing something like Bend the Knee did, and doing a chapter by chapter break. You could do that for years with Malaz. I've also thought about doing it with Realm of the Elderlings.
Yeah,
because I love it.
Me too. There's so much stuff I want to do, and that's why like I want to hurry up and get these chapter ones done, but I just didn't want to rush through them. And I tried like doing some where I was like, I got promoted at work, had 2 people quit, so I just like have no time, and kids at school and stuff now, so it's kind of like fallen by the wayside. And I started trying to like, what if I just did some like freewheel it, like read the chapter and then just go, and not like, and I did them and they're fine, but it wasn't like that fun to make them like that. Like I kind of wanted to really, have it be like the public service component, or, you know what I mean? So
yeah, man, I get that. I really do. I feel like that's one of the reasons why I've strayed away from a Song of Ice and Fire content, is because I don't feel like I have the time to do it with the justice that I want to do it. You know what I mean? Totally. And now that I'm doing this reread, I'm definitely going to be doing some content, and I'm excited about it, but I'm also nervous. I'm nervous because I want to do it the right way. Kind of like what we talked about before. What is the right way? I guess I got to figure that out.
Totally. No, and that's why like I always like kind of like that Nameless channel, and that's like kind of why I went with the themed name instead of just calling myself Jordan's, whatever stupid fantasy this or that or whatever, was because like, he's like focused on one specific thing, and he did like the character deep dives that I always thought were cool. It's like, let's break down this one specific character. And I think like that there's a lot of opportunity to do stuff like that in Malazan too, like once the chapter stuff is done, because it's like, how dope would it be just to like talk about Quick Ben, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you have like some videos on Quick Ben. Yeah,
totally. And there's like a million people like that are just like super interesting, little one-offs that like you could have like 5 videos about. So hopefully there's stuff like that. I want to voice act out some of this stuff and like either get somebody to draw some stuff, or like they have those apps where you can like animate people's like mouths in a picture. So it's like there's so much like ridiculous Malazan art. And if you haven't read Malazan, be careful Googling the art, because like the art's super spoily, but there's like a ton of epic
Beautiful.
character art and settings and whatever. It's like, get some people to act out the voices and then like animate out some of the mouths on the art. How dope would that be? So there's sky's the limit. I just got to find the time.
I think people would I would love that.
Yeah.
Philip has a question for you. He says, will you be setting up another Malazan tournament? Those were a lot of fun.
It's so funny that you asked that. Like, I was thinking now, because the community is like grown so much, and like so many people have now found the books because of you guys and AP and Mike and everything, that it would be fun to like run the exact same 64-person tournament on the community tab, whether it's because we did both a most powerful mage tournament where I just did head-to-heads, and we did a 64-person draw, a random draw, and then I would just run matches one against another, and it was just a vote on my community tab. We did most powerful mages and like most badass warriors, but be interesting to see if maybe we can start that in January. Maybe that's a goal that we can have, is to get that on the books and get the votes going, because there was a bit of I felt like new reader bias, because like Animander Rake like just destroyed anybody who showed up from like
that's who I would pick. Yeah, that's where I'd be at.
Like, and I think there was just a lot of people who were like, I don't know who this other guy is. Rake crushes.
Iskar, let me throw this out there, and just let this sit in the head for a little bit. But maybe when you get to the semifinals or the finals of said tournament, wouldn't it be interesting to have like a commentary about what's happening during the fight?
Yes.
And I happen to be very good at commentary because I was in wrestling. So I feel like my play-by-play skills could be very useful in a video like that. So if you're ever interested in commentating a fight between Rake and like Quick Ben or something, I would definitely be down.
Yeah, no, that would be dope. Maybe we could like co-host a live stream to go over all the tournament results one day or something like that. That would be epic. Yeah, we
that
could,
really would
wear
be
the
epic.
Little tie too, and yeah.
The fact that you can do a 64-person tournament, that shows the depth of Malazan, doesn't it?
Right, dude. Yeah, totally. So
yeah,
and there were controversial results too, and people were like so passionate, dude. The comment section on that stuff blows up. It's insane. So,
that's really engaging content, man. I like that a lot. I'd consider doing something a little bit similar to for the Kingsguard in A Song of Ice and Fire, because I'm a huge Barris and Selmy stan. Like I think Selmy is just, oh man, you throwing down the sword, add it to your pile, and he killed 3 guys on the way out and he didn't have a sword. What did he do? I need to know.
Yeah, that's one of the areas we got cheated in the show too, right? Like, dude, he has an epic thing going on over across the pond in the books. You know what I mean? And they're like on the brink on the precipice of a crazy standoff. So
yeah, and then they did my boy Hallen Reed dirty. Hallen Reed just didn't do anything in the show, and he's going to have
a thing. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, come on, he was at Tower Joy. He was there.
I know. So like, yeah, that's what I don't get. So like, what was the point of him then being there? Like with, you know what I mean? For the flashback and stuff.
They did no justice to my boy Hallen Reed. All right.
Hallen Reed just had him not be there. You know what I mean? Because like it could have just been Ned there. There was no purpose to. So hey, whatever. They were ready to do their Star Wars thing. You give them a break. They want to go make some more money.
Yeah, I think that didn't work out for them, and I will be honest, the petty side of me is happy that it didn't work out for them.
Yeah, totally. They and I think they got a little black mark on their permanent record there.
Yeah, I'm excited for House of the Dragon. Basically everyone that made that show amazing is coming back, and D&D is not. So I have really high hopes for that show. I think it's going to be a really good time, and I'm always down to. A lot of people they harbor a lot of resentment towards what the show did to the canon and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, I'm just excited to be back in Westeros. I think Matt Smith as a Targaryen is going to be phenomenal.
Totally. And the books are like Fire and Blood is really good, and like the World of Ice and Fire and the like backstory stuff, they're actually like entertaining pieces like in and of themselves too. There's a lot there to work with, I think, and they're not as like hemmed in by, you know what I mean, like the specific like nobody's like so expertly into the plot points that they're gonna sit there and like naysay it or whatever.
I'm sure someone will try.
Oh yeah, they will, but it's going to be a much smaller minority. It's going to be like, bro, yes, you've memorized Fire and Blood. We get it,
Yeah, my my whole goal, we're talking about like making content and stuff. This is kind of a bummer, but at the same time, a good thing in some ways. This whole reread, my number one goal to come out of this, like one of my main things was to show the parallel between Tyrion and Jaime's arcs.
Oh yeah.
Tyrion becoming a villain and Jaime becoming a hero. And unfortunately, the day that I started taking notes as I was starting my reread of Game of Thrones, Alt-Shift-X, the GOAT, releases an hour and 15-minute video on Tyrion. And I'm like, no need to have me. You reminded me of when you said, like, you wouldn't have made those videos if you felt like someone else had done it.
Yeah.
And I'm very much the same way. I'll give a devil his due if someone makes a video, and I'm into doing new things, and I'm into making my own spin on stuff. But seeing the GOAT, Alt-Shift-X, make a video on Tyrion's arc, I was like, well, I guess I can wash my hands clean of it. And I was a little sad because it was going to be the highest effort project I was ever going to do on the channel, I think. But it was so good. It was such a good video.
That's how I am. I like my homie Ruth Ann Bad put out a like most epic Karsa Orlong video, and like it was all about like barbarism versus civilization and like all it. And I was like, and I literally had like a Karsa video that was like ready to click upload on, and I was like, that's going in the garbage now. And I was like, I couldn't even be mad because it's like so damn good, and like, you know what I mean, it's like, this is what a Karsa video should be. So hey, that's I call that a W from my standpoint, because I'm just in it for like the discussion. Like, dude, honestly, like I stopped even I did a couple live streams on like when I got to like 100 subscribers and like 500 subscribers and stuff, and I like stopped doing that only because I was like, dude, it's not about my like, I just want people to talk about the books, really. Like that's what I want to listen to people talk about the books, and no one's talking. So like I ended up like going up and like grabbing the mic and like talking and stuff, but like only because nobody else was doing it. And so it is like, you know what I mean? Like there is some like really, really smart people that are like freaking like super into the like passionate about the books too, but actually like know stuff about books that like Philip and AP and everybody too.
They bring a different perspective for sure.
Totally. And it's like so enjoyable because it's like that you're like, yes, this is like what I don't have the vocabulary to articulate about why this is so awesome. You know what I mean? And I think it's like that's why you see people flooding in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're 100% like you're on the money. I've always been excited about the conversation. I mean, I think most people are here because the people in your real lives are, maybe not super into books. Like I have friends that read, but I don't have friends that read all the time.
Totally.
And the fact that like this Chatting with Nuts, that's so funny. So this was always something I wanted to do, right? This is like a brainchild of mine. It's not like anything revolutionary. I didn't create podcasting or anything, but I said, man, I just want to like hang out with people and see what's on people's minds, and that's why I'm very interactive with chat in the show. And that's why I like to bring on guests like you or other people. And when I first did this, I actually had a couple people tell me that not to do it. They said, make a new channel because it's really bad for your analytics, because it doesn't have a certain percentage of watch time and all this stuff. And you know what I said? I said, I don't care. Like, I just don't care. Like, this is something I want to do. I want to get conversation started. And it turns out, Chatting with Nuts largely outperforms every other video that I do now. Yeah. I mean, my channel would be nowhere. I just passed 4,000 subs, and there's no way I would have been this far along without this podcast, which was supposed to be supposedly a bad idea. But it's something I just did from my heart. It's just something I wanted to do.
That's what people want, is authenticity. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is, like if you're having fun, if you're enjoying what you're doing, you know what I mean? If you like, that's the thing. Even if you like hate a book and you're like trash talking, you know what I mean? They'd rather see that than like just like, rolling out a kind of whitewash thing or whatever. So it's like that to me, that's why I always say yes to any collab. You know what I mean? Because like for me, it's the conversation. I love hearing what other people have to say. And like when people say stuff, it's like, oh my God, I never even thought, because I was always thinking this, right? And then it's like, and it just, there's that whole dynamic component where it's like, even if like I make a video and actually like record the video exactly as I envisioned it and like knock it out of the park and whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just me saying stuff. There's no like, so I feed off like that dynamic stuff of just hearing that's the joy of reading, is like learning and sharing and like, being stimulated. So
yeah, and there's like a genuine interest I have found, and I feel, and maybe I'm being biased to all you book nerds out there, but I do feel like I've met more genuine people in books, in this little community of ours. Um, you know, I've chatted with Alan now for over 9 hours easily, 10, maybe 10 hours on this channel. But
Lucky.
Alan messages me like once a week and, hey man, how's it going? Or if I'm reading something that he knows that he's read, he's like, hey, did you get to this part? Like Malazan, he's done that a bunch.
Yeah.
And it's like like Alan's not just asking me how the weather is. You know what I mean? Like Alan really wants to know my thoughts. And the fact that anyone values what I think at all is
Right.
mind-boggling to me. But I've just built like some very genuine friendships, people I talk to every day, like my friend Christian, and I'm very fortunate for that. And there's just something very authentic about the community in itself.
Yeah.
I know
Totally.
we get mad at each other every now and then, and maybe we all don't agree, and we
Yeah.
see things differently, and someone makes fun of our favorite books, and it hurts. But at the end of the day, we're all kind of doing the same activity, and on some level, we're on the same page. No pun
Yeah. And
intended.
get over it when someone doesn't like your favorite books. People don't like Malazan all the time. It's fine. It's not for everyone.
It's
They're
true.
allowed to be wrong. You know what I
That's
mean?
right. And you're also allowed to say, I don't agree with you, and move on, right? That's totally an acceptable thing to do.
Yeah, don't be toxic. You know what I mean? Don't be a sore winner. That's even worse than being a sore loser. But I'm like into camping a lot too, and I find that like, the booktube is similar to the camping community, right? Because it's like we're all out there for the same reason. You know what I mean? We're all out there kind of looking for that same thing, and I think that's kind of true when you go into like books and stuff, and fiction books and
Yeah.
fantasy in particular too. Is it's like you're in it for the fun, the enjoyment, the themes, the feels, and you know what I mean? And like that attracts a certain kind of person.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it does attract a certain kind of person with an affinity for imagination and ideas. I think
Totally.
we've all at least thought of a story in our head. Have you ever written? Do you have any interest in writing?
I've thought about writing books before. I've written like journal articles and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Nothing any like fiction oriented, but I've kicked around like Erickson's new book has me, thinking I should write a book because he has a character from House of Chains that then like features prominently in this new book. And the person has like gone through some changes and whatever from when we first know them. And I thought it'd be cool to do like a kind of like memento type book or something with a character
Oh.
like that, where it would be like, you could do it like as a modern era type thing. So you wouldn't be able to see, and then like do it as two characters, like kind of told in parallel. And then you find out at the end that it was actually one guy at two different points in his life. And like he was a scumbag before and then good now. And like, what does it mean to be a good person kind of thing? I don't know.
Dude, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
You should
Well, I just
totally
spoiled
write
it for
that.
everyone, whoever. So now it won't be very, but
Journey before destination. It's
yeah,
fine.
exactly.
Yeah, we get there. We'll see how we get there. I mean, I think that sounds very interesting. I think a lot of us are inspired to write by sections of books that we enjoy.
Totally. Are you going to write? You said you were going to do that November novel thing. Have you done something before that makes you think that you're kind of destined for greatness?
No, I'm definitely not destined for greatness. I
think
did
so.
finish a short story, and largely was inspired by Robert Baratheon from
Oh,
Song
yeah.
of Ice and Fire. I've always pitched my short story as if Robert Baratheon picked up the Warhammer one more time.
Nice. Oh, and I see you got the cut purse knife back there.
Yeah. I like the series just a wee bit. I got Bobby B over here. My friend painted that. He's very talented. He's very lazy, but he's very talented. I could say he's lazy. I hope he's watching this because I've been trying to get him to do more, and I was going to do giveaways on the channel. That was the idea. I was going to do he had a Daenerys one that was beautiful. He spray paints, so he stencils, and he used to vandalize all the time. But I said, if you make these, he could start an Etsy shop or something, and I was gonna do some giveaways. But if you're watching this, Andrew, you're lazy. Get on it.
Totally. There's a guy who made a Troll Sengar spear on Etsy, and it was like Damascus steel, like epic. And you just like, or it wasn't on Etsy. I think you just posted it on Reddit or something. And I was like, dude, you got to sell me that so I can put it on my bookcase for my like videos. And he was like, I'll totally sell it to you. And it was like $3,500. And I was like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, we're good, man. We good.
Yeah.
I bought ice. I think ice was a few $100s. I think it might have been a gift. I think it was a birthday gift for my wife one year. So I got ice in the, in the back room in case anyone feeling froggy. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, that is awesome, dude. That's what I keep telling like Erickson. He needs to hire like a shameless manager. I don't keep telling him. I just keep saying it out loud to myself. But it's like somebody will get out there and just shill super hard. There's like no reason why we don't have like a live action Dragnipour like that someone could get out and freaking swing around, right?
Let's
Like, come on,
go.
people would buy that.
Dude, are you kidding me? Oh man, you could make a like a kind of like a half wagon that it sits on. Oh, come
Dude,
on. This
straight
is
up.
writes itself,
Come
guys. Let's
on. I know.
go.
That's what I'm saying, dude. He needs somebody a lot more shameless out there beating the bushes for him. We could pad that retirement account.
Get Sanderson's Dragonsteel on the case, man. That guy is a master marketer.
Straight up, dude. Look at all these like
So good.
fancy book version, like leather bound, this
And
and that. Like,
the shit he sends with it, like I got stickers, I got a deck of cards up there with the characters on it, and all I can think of is the deck of dragons. Like
I get the sense that like Erickson's not that into money, but it's like, think about your kids, man. Let's get him rich at least. Come on.
and I just want the stuff, man. I not a very materialistic person. I know that seems probably like bullshit because of what I have back here, but these are the only things I collect and do. I just you know, they mean a lot to me. I don't know why, but for a lot of my life, I couldn't afford things, and I also wouldn't let myself be a big fan of things because in wrestling we called it being a mark. That was always is almost a detriment. Like you couldn't never put anything over. You couldn't admit something was good. It's kind of ingrained into you when you're in that business. And after I left the wrestling world, I got my chance to be a mark finally, and it's fun to be a fan, man. It's fun to enjoy stuff.
Dude, it's like giving yourself permission to go, yeah. And again, that's why I like camping too. Same thing, right? Giving yourself permission to read, giving yourself permission to just go, yeah, let's go for a bike ride with the kids, like whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to be driven and like worried about being, you know what I mean? Like being successful all the time or like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Living up to some ideal. It's like, what's the thing that's like going to make you happy right now? And then just do that.
Yeah, that's truly living in the now. Yeah,
Yeah.
that to me that is, and I think I'm not a big camper, but I'm drawn to nature because of that. Me and my wife would go on lots and lots of walks, and I
Yeah.
feel like that's the most free I feel. You know,
Totally. And you're like, yeah, dude, I'm going to listen to what you're saying. I'm not going to be on my phone. I'm not going to be like paying
Yeah.
attention to the TV and like half listening. I'm not going to be like thinking about this work email that I didn't send. Right. Like,
Yeah, I mean these conversations are really freeing for me, man. Like when I get off these, I'm buzzing. Like I'm just buzzing, and I always feel like, God, did I say enough? Did I get everything out I wanted? I'm always very nervous before these, but it always just, I don't know. There's something about long form conversation with another person.
yeah,
It's just it's different.
totally. And just talking to people, you know, that's like the one thing we don't do. And that's like what I love about like the Discord and stuff, which Discord's not for everyone and stuff. But I think like, you know, it's a lot different than like the kind of, you know, the post culture where it's like, hey, I just put my thing out there. It's like, it's not a conversation. I'm just put, hey, here's my stuff, there's your stuff. Like we
Yeah.
all put out it, like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, you said this, I'm responding to you. Like even like in the most like dynamic Facebook posts where people are like commenting it, it's still not a conversation though. You know what I mean? It's still
Yeah.
like kind of my piece, then your piece, then my piece, then your, you know what I mean? And I think that it's like, this is like, you know, none of our personal baggage and stuff even comes into it. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like we could be like polar opposites on like, you know, philosophical issues or whatever, but it's like there can, you know what I mean? We can celebrate the like common things that we love about books and like realize that like there's a lot more that like makes us the same than different and all that. And it's like a freaking, it's healthy to do that. Like
It
we should
is
all
healthy.
be doing this more, you know?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. Facing other people's opinions that you don't quite agree with can also be a good benchmark. You know, there's people in my I have a Patreon Discord, mainly because the idea of having a public Discord gets me nervous for some reason. It just gives me anxiety.
Big responsibility.
Yeah, we got a small group of, on my Patreon Discord, and I love everyone in there. And you know, there's people in there that don't really agree with many of the book choices that I like, but it's a good benchmark to know that if that person hates that book, I might like it. And if I like that book, they'll probably hate it. And, you know, I'm thankful for those people. I really am. I know it sounds silly, but being able to know who you can go to for a book recommendation or what they're into, and then judging that off of your own personal taste is a nice thing. And it's cool. It's cool to be friends with people who don't agree with you on anything. Sometimes it's good.
Exactly. As long as it's like honestly motivated and stuff, and it's not like a
Yes.
tear you down type of thing. Like my boss, my CEO that I have right now is like, the best boss and stuff that I've ever had. And like, I disagree with him all the time. And he's always like, yeah, this is going to, he's like, oh, I think interest rates are going to go up a lot faster. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is. And I'll be like, oh, I don't think that interest rates are going to go up that fast, but you know what I mean? But it's like, it's always like, well, you know what I mean? He's motivated by getting the correct answer. And like all of the stuff that he asked me, like even when I like disagree, it's like it's a healthy exercise for me to go through and like, so, re-examine and go, here's why I disagree. And like, yes, consider that what you said. And here's why, you know what I mean? But it's like, that's a different thing than being kind of bitter that somebody questioned, you know what I mean? Like if that's like how you get the best out of yourself, you know what I mean? Is when people don't just go, oh, you're great and everything you do is great. It's like, no, you are great, but what about this? You know what I mean? It's like, loving each other like grown-ups instead of like, a 3-year-old loves their mom and everything mom does is good and everything mom, anybody that criticizes your mom is evil kind of thing. It's like, no, dude, grown-ups are like, you love each other the big way and point out the inconsistencies and the flaws and whatever. So
yeah, I think jiu-jitsu has really changed my mindset when it comes to because jiu-jitsu is the one time where someone strangles you, which is essentially a simulation of death, and then you go, oh, like someone just beat you, right? Like they literally beat you. And then they walk you through what you did wrong, and you have to face your errors. Now there's there are excuses you can make. Oh, you're really strong. Oh, something or whatever. But at the end of the day, deep down, that other person bested you. And then to look that person who just beat you, if you're competitive like me, you look them in the eyes and say, you just beat me. How did you do it? And they tell you your shortcomings. You can grow from that. And it's really changed my perspective on how to take criticism in it. And also wrestling helped me a lot with that. I see, comments can get nasty. I don't know if you ever, we all see it, right?
Oh yeah.
But I see some, the larger creators and they seem to just like magnetize to the negative comments.
Oh yeah.
And I'm very thankful. I had people wish death upon me in wrestling. I had some really nasty stuff happen to me, at a younger age. And for me, it's like, that's nothing. Like you just shrug it off, and another thing is sometimes a negative comment, you can actually grow from that. Now you got to be able to filter out what's BS and what's not.
Right.
If someone goes in and says, I think your opinion sucks, Way of Kings is the best book ever. I don't know what you're talking, whatever. Okay. That's whatever. But someone might say, hey, you didn't do a good job of relaying this. And I've had that happen to me. I've actually had people say, hey, you kind of missed the mark on this. And I looked and I said, you know what? There's 4 or 5 comments here that say that.
Totally.
Maybe I messed up. Am I infallible? Absolutely not.
Yeah. You really can't grow unless you can take critical feedback. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you're just going to stagnate unless you're like self-motivated to like do that self-work, So
yeah. And I also think that it's okay to let people not mesh or agree with what an author does. A lot of times we come to you didn't get the genius of this book. And it's like, well, maybe they're just right. Maybe we did miss something. A lot, my favorite work of fiction is A Song of Ice and Fire, and it is flawed. There's absolutely flaws. And when people say they don't like book 4 and 5, I will go to bat for them. But I will concede that there are things wrong.
Totally. Yeah. No, it's like everybody doesn't have to like the same piece of art. That's what makes us all different. Like that's why you like, opposites attract and you go to your spouse that is like totally different personality type than you and this and that. You know what I mean? It's like the world would be pretty boring if we all vibed on the exact same things. You wouldn't get the diversity of stuff that we have. So hey.
It's absolutely true.
Yeah.
And, also with these communities and stuff, I think that it provides like a support system. Like I always say, Realm of the Elderlings was a big hit with me because Rhythma had not a read along going, but a lot of people were reading in her channel, and it really just increased my, my experience. And, someone who doesn't read Realm of the Elderlings with a social setting around them very likely might not have the same connection that I did.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think that plays a huge factor.
Those people would be wrong, but yeah, no, you're fine. No, it really is the jam actually. And I think that one lends itself to TV production. I think the ice stuff does too. I think it's going to be a good decade for a lot of great shows and TV. Cause I think that the appetite is just getting started. Like the more that come out that are well done, like Dune and stuff. And I think if Wheel of Time's done well and the Expanse has been so good that it's only going to be a more mainstream going forward.
Yeah, it's a legitimate avenue to tell your stories, and I think people see that people want this. Like the numbers don't lie. Expanse, even out of season, has been in and out of the top 10 stream shows like total, that's with Disney and everything, all these Marvel shows. Expanse has been number 1 and 2 even in the last year.
Totally. Yeah.
And what a show that is. Oh my God.
So good.
I mean, the fact that that was on Sci-Fi for 3 seasons, and it had no business being that good on Sci-Fi.
Totally, dude. Sci-Fi, come on. Dude.
Sharknado,
I know.
That's a testament to how talented Ty Franck and Daniel Abraham are, man. I really believe that.
Absolutely.
Have you read all those books?
I haven't read all those. I read actually, I forget which one of them. Abraham, I think, did the Coin and Dagger, which was like an econ based one.
I love that series. Have you read it?
Yeah, I read it. I loved it. Yeah.
Someone else.
Totally. Yeah.
It's on my shelf, dude. Oh my goodness. How good is Getter?
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love that whole like concept too. And she's like basically like pioneers the first central bank and stuff. And...
Yes. A prodigy banker. Like no one's ever written that before. And she happens to also be somewhat of an alcoholic.
Yeah, totally. And like super weird and flawed and
yes,
I love that.
Flawed. And I thought Wester was a great character. Getter is top 5 antagonist of all time. Could be my favorite antagonist of all time. I thought Abraham just slowly burned him into this monster. You know what I mean? But still misunderstood. In a lot of ways. I know Alan's a huge fan of Daniel Abraham's Long Price Quartet, but I've been telling people forever, Daniel Abraham's something special. I think in like 10 years, people will look back and be like, oh, I'm going to go read all of his old stuff. He has a new series starting in this spring, I believe.
Oh, wow.
Ashes, something with ashes. I can't remember, but I'm hoping that this is his like magnum opus in the fantasy genre. Cause everybody obviously knows The Expanse, but that guy is he's on a different level, man. He really is.
Yeah.
I'm so excited you read Dagger and Coin, man.
Yeah, not a lot of people have read that, I find.
No.
And the way they did the dragon thing, I thought was really interesting. I thought the whole spider thing was so interesting. Like there was a lot of original.
Yes, a lot of original stuff.
There. Yeah,
and it's a slow burn, and that's why people, because if you go look at book 1 on Goodreads, I think it's like a 3.4 or something. But if you go look at all the later books, they're all like 4 or 5 stars.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, because Daniel Abraham sets up his stuff. I mean, he takes his time. And Age of Ash. Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, Age of Ash by Daniel Abraham. I think it's March 2022. Oh man, I can't wait to read that. That's going to be fantastic. AP's out. Very, very good night to you all. 2:30 a.m.
Especially. Hey, always a pleasure, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you, AP, for being here. AP, when he came on, we did 3 hours, and we did 3 hours after the podcast. We turned off the stream and we just kept talking. It was like 6 a.m. his time, man.
We got 12 hours to sleep to get on the quiz tomorrow morning. AP, we're doing another Malazan quiz on Zoom tomorrow.
Oh, that's going to be great. What kind of quiz are you doing? Like, we
have a Malazan pub quiz that we do one per book, like every couple months. So we're awesome. We're redoing the House of Chains pub quiz tomorrow via Zoom. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have anything coming up that you're really excited about on the channel, or maybe something that you're going to be reading soon?
The sale piece. Well, the Orb Scepter Throne 10 Very Big Books podcast should be dropping soon if it's not already out. And just again, always shilling for the ice books because they're really good. And then the sale stuff is going to be done. I think I'm going to try and do some actual video collabs on a sale to like kind of round out the year. And then I think I will get the tournament going. Maybe do the kind of most powerful mage tournament again starting in January. So hopefully,
and I can watch your existing one without spoilers, right?
Yeah. It's just like the videos that I have are mostly like recapping the choices that people made. So lamenting in many cases why I thought Yeah, and actually one of them, I forget which one, but I went through all their choices and I said, here's what my picks would have been. Because I never vote. I never wanted to poison the well and shill for any particular person. But it was dope, dude. By the end, like 500-600 people were voting in each match. So it was cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, and there's no other series that lends itself so much to a versus. You know what I mean? 100%. Like, absolutely not.
And it's totally subjective, so.
Yes, though some people might disagree.
Right, yeah. Oh, no, they were disagreeing.
Scott St. Paul had a question. This is way back in the chat, but I went back to pull it up, and he said, any under the radar series that you think might be the next Malazan in terms of the community creating content, reading together, dissecting, and theorizing?
I wouldn't know. I'm the worst person to ask because I literally only ever do Malazan stuff. I
I
think that I think this is like the future of booktube though, honestly,
Yes.
because is like really, people there's a passion, like it's good to know what books to get on your TBR, you know what I mean, and to know which ones are good and which ones are going to check different boxes for you and what they're about and stuff. But I think there's still a lot of room for like deep diving, because like all of these books, that people are talking about are so good, and like each book could have like 150 videos, talking about all these different things. And I think that's where it's going, you know what I mean? Because we're all becoming so much more well read, and so it's not necessarily as much going to be about exposing people to stuff as it is going to be like, why is this so dope? And I think so. I think sky's the limit for the future on that.
I agree. I totally agree. If I had to pick a series, I definitely think that I think Prince of Nothing is starting to gain just a little bit of traction. I think the grimness may keep people away, but if you're talking about a book that deserves to be spoken about and people who are willing to dive into some of the darkest pieces of the psyche and of humanity and philosophy, I think that this is probably the most potential for a series, especially the history and the lore. It's written like a history book, which is really cool. I also think that Janie Wart's a series of War of Light and Shadow, which I'm going to be giving a shot in 2022. I've heard that it is very Malazan like with being thrown into the deep end and how deep it is.
Yeah.
And AP and Philip, I believe, are going to start that next year as well. So maybe
Oh,
with a few
nice.
of us talking about it, maybe it'll kick up. She's writing the last book right
Yeah.
now.
No, the
So
counselor at Moonspawn, one of our big Malaz tubers, she's the bomb. Just read that and really liked it, and has a good video up on her channel. And she's like been encouraging
hell
everyone to
yeah.
read that. So that's good to hear you say that too, because then that means the more times you hear it from different segments of the world, then like the higher it goes up the TBR.
Yeah, I've from everything that I've heard, and also Janie is a student of the game. She has a lot of respect for other authors, and she talks about fantasy a lot on her Twitter. I think that I'm gonna really vibe with her. I actually read the first chapter, I think, of the first book of War on Light and Shadow, whatever it is. I can't remember what it's called.
Mm,
Yeah, I think it's like Mist Wraith or something like that. And I really liked her writing just based off that one little chapter. I
yeah,
think it's going to be a big hit with me, and I will be making a lot of content with that because I love bringing eyes to series that I think are a little bit underrepresented. Realm of the Elderlings is starting to catch fire.
yeah.
I love doing all those reviews. I mean, that's where the bulk of my subscribers have come from.
Oh, is that right? Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that deserves it. Honestly, I think like even if that one's catching on, like I think that one has so much broad appeal. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Because like dudes
Yes.
can get into it, girls can get into it, people can get into it for the magic part, people who are like more character, the
Yeah,
focus.
it's
So
the
like
character
yeah,
story,
dude.
right? I mean, it's the
So
best.
yeah.
I did reviews for everything. Sometimes I did like a trilogy together, but I did a
Uh-huh.
live show for every entry in,
Oh,
and
nice.
they were just a blast, man. And most of my Discord, the people who are my patrons, most of them are huge Robin Hobb fans, and we have a really good community there because we have some new readers, and
Yeah.
everyone's always encouraging and hyping it up, and it's just a lot of fun. I mean, Realm of the Elderlings took over my channel this year. I mean, it was supposed to
That's
just be
dope.
Farseer, and I just read all 16 right in a row. I
Yeah.
just blitzed them, and I loved it. Um,
That's the one that I've gotten my wife to actually pick up and read, and she's on like the third book of the first
let's
trilogy.
go.
So,
Let's
dude,
go.
we're gonna convert her. We're not giving up.
My wife is also going to be reading Assassin's Apprentice. She's finishing up 5th season by N.K. Jemisin right now, which I read last month, and I think it's one of the best books I've ever read. And then she is going to read Dune, and then she's going to be doing Assassin's Apprentice. I think that was the order she planned to do them in.
Nice.
Man, yeah, I think the Realm of the Buildings has a lot of appeal for a wide audience. I really believe that. Oscar, who's one of my Kingsguard members, Oscar, good to see you, man. He says, "Is Age of Ash book 1? Can someone start with Age of Ash?" Talking about the new Daniel Abraham book coming
Yeah.
out this spring. Yes, that is a book 1 of a brand new series. If you've never
Boom.
read any Abraham, you would be fine to start there. Though I do encourage you to go back and read The Dagger and the Coin and the Long Price Quartet, even though I haven't read that one yet. Paul Johnson, we were talking about series that have like a lot of potential. Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe. Yes. I've heard it's challenging.
They're doing a big read along in the Discord right now, and people have a lot of thoughts. It's out there.
Have you read it?
I haven't read it. No, I haven't.
Me
That's
either.
one of the ones high up on the TBR as well. I got the like
Mhm.
really spooky, cool looking cover for it, but it's I heard it takes a lot of investment
Yes.
intellectually. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna I don't know that it was that one or the darkness that comes before that were really kind of vying to find their way into my Malazan reread, but I
I've
think
heard
the
he makes up
darkness.
words and
Yeah.
everything else. I've
I
heard
don't want to
it's
have to
trip.
also have a new thesaurus that I got to get to understand all these big giant words and stuff. So
I'd like to give it a shot. I don't know when I'm going to get to it, but I will definitely read Book of the New Sun. It's like if I had to say like things I'm looking forward to, it's definitely top 5 things I'm looking forward to. Hoping that it's a huge hit.
yeah, it has some of the same appeal that Malazan does, where people are like, "That's so hard," and I'm like, "Bullshit! I'll read that. Give me that." You know what I mean? Then I was like, "Oh my god!"
Listen, we're repping for the everyday man over here, Iskar. Me and you, we're saying, look, if we can do it,
That's it.
anybody can do it.
That's exactly the philosophy. You nailed it.
It's been my philosophy in life, man. Yeah, I did wrestling, and when I'd help people out in the wrestling business, I would always say, man, if I'm here and I'm doing this and I'm finding success, you can, because I'm nobody special. I'm not athletic. I'm not the biggest guy in the room. I'm not the best talker, but I work damn hard, and you can work hard too. Everyone can work hard.
Yeah.
And obviously there's other things that play into that too. I don't want to make it sound like anybody that doesn't make it isn't working hard, but it's the same thing with like this, or I also with coding. Like when I teach people how to code, I say, if I can do this, I'm an idiot. You can do this, I promise.
Yeah.
This question's for you, Benjamin Comben. Good to see you, man. He said, "I'm late to the party, so sorry if this is discussed already. What does Iskar think of Kirkanis? I'm not a dense prose person, so I'm pretty wary of these, even though I love Malazan Book of the Fallen."
There's dense prose. There's dense prose for sure, but it's so incredibly in my sweet spot that I'm such a fan. There's the whole 63 gang Wu-Tang logo in our Discord that we use just to rep, because he was writing the books, the Karkanis books, and then they weren't commercially successful, so he stopped to do the new Karsa Orlong trilogy.
Yeah.
And he was wrote a Facebook post a while ago that said, now that I finished the Karsa thing, I'm gonna go back and finish up Karkanis for the 63 of you that care. And so that's the ongoing joke that it's we're the 63 gang of, but which is really 5,000 people strong of people who are so thirsting for the book. It has dense and a lot of contemplative philosophical stuff, but it's freaking got great character studies for people who say he doesn't do good character work, and freaking just got it's just a really cool set of books.
I think the premise sounds amazing.
Yeah, going back and finding out about the Tistandi and all that stuff, or just the Tist people, and finding out Animator Rake's backstory. Yeah, what's not to love?
Yeah, I thought of all the prequels, or not prequels, but novels and extended stuff, I guess. I thought that had the coolest sounding premise. So I actually have a first edition trade paperback I found at a used bookstore, and it had a big shout out to AP Canavan. And I was like, oh my goodness, look who it is!
Straight up, dude, boss man.
So cool.
I know.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andrew. He says, Jimmy, you the bomb. Love your stuff, man. I appreciate it. He's currently reading 5th season and hates it. Which I loved it, but that's pretty par for me and Andrew. Our views are usually polar opposite, but it's good to have that benchmark. Like I said earlier, get the folio. Oh, the Book of the New Sun folio.
The Book of the New Sun folio is fire, dude. That's insanely good.
A few of us pitched in and bought Petrick the Book of the New Sun folio. And
you did? That's
cool. It was a couple of us for a Christmas gift early.
Nice.
And I say Christmas because it takes so long to internationally ship.
Yeah,
but he actually ended up getting it early, and he did an unboxing on his channel, and he was really excited. Wow. And I'm not gonna lie, made me want to get it as well.
You know what I got, which are more affordable, that I've been swooping the Juniper books, dust jackets, and those are freaking fire. I just got the Lord of the Rings one. You can see them right there. My lighting's terrible, but dude, they look really good. And
pull those puppies down. Let's see this.
I think these were $30 or something, and it's just to have a set where they look so crispy up on the shelf.
Oh my god, those are beautiful.
Come on, right?
Damn it, Iskar.
Straight up, dude.
I have the Alan Lee's. Let me see if I can move my camera. I have the Alan Lee's, and I have the Wetaworks figures. Wait, God, how does my hand work?
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, Yeah, those
So
are the ones I have too.
I like them, but they're kind of hard to display, and they're very hard to read, holding them like that. I love those Juniper dust jackets, man. Those are sick. That's the last A Song of Ice and Fires thing I don't have. I have everything else. I have the mass markets. I have the trades. I have a couple first edition hardbacks.
Wow.
Yeah, I found a Clash of Kings first edition, and it's worth a pretty penny. I got it for like $15. I found it. But I don't have the Juniper ones, and I love the Juniper dust jackets. They're so nice.
Those look good for
sure. They do, man. They really do. Man, that Lord of the Rings set blew me away, man. That
totally
good.
I got the Wheel of Time ones too, and those ones look really
good. They're
it's insane.
I used to watch Daniel Green's videos just to look at his covers, man. I was like, those are so sick.
Yeah, I know. Except for he got his for free, probably, and I paid for mine. So
yeah. Yeah, well, I'm not at the point where I get free stuff. Unfortunately, I don't know if I'll ever reach that.
I'm just happy that the stuff like exists even to buy. Like I'm telling you, like there's, if Malazan had this stuff, I would be bankrupt because I would buy every single thing that they put out.
I've always said I wish I was like a Harry Potter or a Star Wars nut because you would have it all. You'd have Legos, and Lord of the Rings had Legos, which are worth a freaking crap ton of money now, by the way.
Oh, is that right?
Oh, if anyone watching this, if you have a Lego set that is Lord of the Rings, whether it's open or not, complete or not, you should definitely go check out how much it costs on eBay. It's insane, dude. There's some sets that cost $10,000.
Oh my God.
Insane, dude. I'm hoping with this Prime Lord of the Rings show that we get some more Lego stuff. I love Legos, by the way, if you can't tell. I love Legos.
I'm trying to make my own Malazan Animander Rake Funko Pop. I got the Wesley from Princess Bride with the black outfit.
Dude.
The Legolas head. So I'm going to try and airbrush his head black and his hair white and then put it on the Wesley from Princess Bride body if I can.
Dude, I love seeing stuff like this. I love it.
Animander Rake Funko Pop ever until they make me a real one.
Dude, I love seeing people's like collection because someone always has something interesting. Like some one piece off. My big thing is I have a handcrafted wooden Westeros map that was built.
Nice.
I got off Etsy. She made one. It was in the Ukraine, and it's 3D, so it comes off. And,
wow.
It's sitting here. I mean, I paid a pretty penny for it, but it's one of my favorite things I own, and I've never seen anyone else that has it.
That's cool.
I'm looking at it right. It's gorgeous. And you know what? Hold on. I'll pull it off. Why not?
Let's do it. Yeah, maps. I'm a sucker for maps. So to have a 3D map, that would be the dream.
Dude, check this out. Okay, so this is all she handcrafted all of these, man.
Wow.
I don't know if you can see all of it, but it has the house sigils, and it's all carved.
Insane.
And can you see the depth, how it comes off?
Oh my God, dude, that's awesome,
bro. And you can't buy this. Like it is not available anywhere else.
I want to contact her and commission the Malazan map. That would be insane.
Oh, dude, that would be sick. My wife, I had her print out at work. They have a really nice laser printer. I had her print out Genabacchus when I was reading through maybe it's Gardens of the Moon. I think it was Gardens of the Moon. And she like laminated it, and I was like inspecting it as I was reading. I love doing that.
Oh, that's
stuff,
bad.
Dude.
Yeah.
I love doing that stuff.
That's what you need. Honestly, that for Dead House Gates or something, that would have been huge to have like a little unfoldable map and to be able to see where they were like getting chased and all that.
Yeah, man. I'm a big plotter of maps. Like when I think it was the second or third time I read through A Song of Ice and Fire, I was plotting on the map where characters were and just seeing how close they all came and they didn't know. And I love that stuff. Faithful in the Fallen by John Gwynne also, that there's a lot of really good traveling. It's fun to plot out the Banished Lands, which is a great. I'm a sucker for a map, dude. I'm a sucker for a map.
Me too. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, dude. I actually even have the Middle Earth map. It's
yeah,
over there. That's only half of it, but that thing is huge. That also came from Russia.
Wow, freaking Russians, man.
Dude, Russians Etsy game, unbeatable, bro. Unbeatable.
Straight up, dude. They're crafty.
They really are. I would love to see a Genabacchus or a Seven Cities map, man. Like I would.
I'm trying to find somebody to CNC print because they have that Wirt Zone or that Wirt Head map that's like the Adam Whitehead definitive Malazan map. So like I want to give that to somebody who's got a CNC cutter and get them to etch it in, because I've seen on YouTube there's like really cool ones where they like do the relief so that it's like, you know, the ocean is like chipped away, and then they fill that with blue epoxy. So then you have like the map with blue epoxy, and then they like will put the name of the map.
Dude, you're talking my language.
So
that's right up my if you find somebody, let me know. I'm ready to pitch in. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, no,
I'm
I
all
want to
about
do it.
that.
It would be fun, you know, and then I just got to find somewhere to put it. So
Yeah, man. When people make like these kind of things, like Lost Discovery said, "Where's the map of Roshar, man?" I love the map of Roshar, man. I think that's like one of my favorite looking maps. Even though I feel like we don't travel a lot in Stormlight, not nearly enough. I do love that map, and that's one thing, you know, Game of Thrones show, whatever people want to say about it. It gave me an opportunity to have so many things come to life, dude. You know, like that map, like that would have never been really made, not if not for the show. I get the Song of Ice and Fire calendar every year.
yeah,
It's awesome. You know,
totally.
I hope Malazan, I hope, and it seems this way. It seems like it's gaining in popularity. I'd love to talk to Erickson and ask him if he sees, I don't know if he knows sales numbers or not, but I wonder if he's seeing a boost.
A resurgence. Yeah, you should have him on. He'll come.
Yeah, I feel I'm a very intimidated to talk to him.
I've never talked to him.
I don't know if I mean, I want to, but like maybe not in a public setting. like I would love to like grab a beer with him and not embarrass myself in front of you know, hundreds of people.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was like, I was always like selfishly motivated to want to talk to him, but I was like, I don't want to like waste his time, and like I don't really have any insightful thing like to ask him that would benefit the rest of the world. I'm just more like would be like, oh, what about you know what I mean? And he'd be like, bro, is there something you know what I mean? So
is there a point to this, sir? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I totally feel that way.
Yeah, it would be very clear how it would be good for me, but you know, so.
Well, you know, you just wait till he's releasing a new book, and then it's just good promo, and then you can ask him whatever. And then he gets put in the book.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about timing, you know.
Totally.
Yeah, I haven't interviewed any authors.
You haven't?
No, I haven't. I feel odd about it. I really would love to score an interview with Robin Hobb. Like that's the one author I have a lot to ask her, and I have a lot of thoughts. Like I feel like when it comes to series, that's probably the one I've been most introspective about. I've made the statement that I became a better person from reading those books.
Yeah.
And I feel like I understood a lot of what she was going for, and I would like to validate those things, or at least see how close I was. She's the one author that I feel like I would really be able to pull something out of.
You should totally hit that up, dude, because she's the bomb, and she seems pretty accessible too. Because like, I don't know if you're on Twitter, I'm not, but I was on Twitter like when I read those books a long time ago, and I remember like when I read the last book that I like posted some like sappy thing about how I was like super impacted and how it was the bomb, and she was like commented back and said how she was glad that I enjoyed it or something.
That's all. Yeah, I commented when I finished. I stacked up all the books up and I took this big picture. I was like 4.1 million words, and she tweeted back and was like, I didn't realize it was that many. And I was just like, you know, she favored a couple other tweets, but she actually responded that time. And I think
you should. I want her to blow up. Honestly, I really do. I want that to become shows or movies or something. I just want people to read that because it's good. You know what I mean? And it's like not enough people know about that or are talking about it, and every person that reads it is like, that was the jam, you know what I mean? And it's like it really just needs like a megaphone on it, because it really is super legit.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot there that a lot of the masses. I always think of Live Ship like as a standalone thing. I think Farseer is also excellent, but I really feel like Live Ship would be the one that there's just so many good character arcs in that. And Gray, I mean, Kennett's one of the best characters ever written, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally. You could like play the Amber thing backwards, right? And have the reveal, like have Amber, the reveal be the full, you know what I mean?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that would be pretty excellent to see on screen. And just the ships, like Paragon on screen. Are you kidding me? Like I would be totally down.
And the conclusion, dude, that has like such an epic conclusion with the kid, the Kennett kid or whatever.
Yeah, Kennett's son.
Yeah,
Kennett's son. Yeah, I think that they would be an excellent adaptation. It's probably the one I mention the most whenever I think about things. I also think Red Rising would be a great adaptation. It's not my favorite
Live ship
series.
would be super expensive compared to like just the the Apprentice one would be like so cheap because it could just be filmed literally anywhere and like there's not even that much
Yeah,
crazy
yeah,
stuff.
it's very much like a set piece, right? Like it's like
Yeah,
you're in this. It's
it'd be a studio filmed thing. Yeah,
A24 would do a very good job. They did the Green Knight. I could see them doing it and
yeah,
making it super confusing, and people would be like, "What the hell is this?" But I would love it. I would
totally.
love it. Um, Andrew's telling me I should interview some self. But it's not so much that like I want to get into interviewing authors. I literally just want to interview Robin Hobb. I there's authors I have relationship and some self pubs too, but I just don't. I don't know.
I'd watch the hell out of that if you got her on, man. That'd be epic.
Well, I'm building up the courage. I'm
Yeah.
building up the courage. Fantasy Bible says my first author interview should be Mark Lawrence. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think. I have a holy war going on with Mark Lawrence.
Okay.
Not
There you
really,
go.
but I like to pretend. It's like a meme. It's a storyline that I've invented.
Love it.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, Red Rising's supposed to. Someone said it'd be like $1 billion if it. Apparently,
Yeah.
it's in the works. So we'll see what we get. But yeah, man. Hey, it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. It was a blast. That was a lot of fun. I can't wait to see what you think of the whole rest of the Malazan stuff. It's been fun to enjoy the ride with you so far.
Yeah, man, I definitely love to have you back on. I think we could dive into some specifics maybe of Realm of the Elder
Yeah,
Rings. I think that'd be a lot of fun. And
dude,
I'm always down to talk Song of Ice and Fire, my friend.
let's do it, bro. Yeah, I read those about 40 times before I was finally like, all right, this book's never coming out. I'll read something else now.
Yeah, I said I wasn't going to reread until Winds of Enter, and now I'm rereading again. So the bug.
I used to pride myself and think I was like one of the foremost ice and fire experts, but it's been a couple years now since I've read them
Dude,
again.
there's so many, and that's another reason why I haven't covered a lot of my channel because, like, you got Lucifer Means Lightbringer coming out here doing like mythology tie-ins and stuff. He's incredible, and then obviously Alt Shift X is, in my opinion, the best YouTuber of all time. Yeah, but I just like talking the series, dude.
Yeah,
I'm so excited
totally.
for these live streams we got coming up.
No, yeah, this was a lot of fun, man. Hit me up whenever.
Yeah, I would love to, man. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. I don't want to take up too much of your Friday night, but
Well,
two
it's
and a half
later for
hours.
you. I'm West Coast at least, so now I'm only at dinner time.
Yeah, you're good, man. 2.5 hours flew by, didn't it?
Yeah, this was seriously, it was a lot of fun. This is what I love about, being on YouTube and stuff is just like chatting books and like being a real person with other people. It's pretty killer.
It is awesome, man. I think everyone enjoys being heard, and chat always gets involved, and it's fun to hear other people chime in. And
Yeah,
everyone's
you
always,
got an active chat, bro. This is awesome.
yeah, I have a small community, but man, I wouldn't trade them for the world. I've even said on multiple occasions, I kind of hope the ceiling is soon because I love what I got going on. It's very
You
intimate.
got a good thing going.
Yeah, man, I really do. I'm very blessed with some great, genuine people and people that for some reason like to hear me talk. Yeah, I'm very fortunate to talk to people like you and like Philip and everything else. I always come out of these chats with like a new appreciation, just for not just the community, but also what other people have to offer and add to the conversation. So I'm always learning and finding out new things.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
You're the jam, bro.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you coming on. I saw it'd been a few weeks since you posted the video. I was like hoping that I could pull you back, put you in the spot like Philip said, and kind of give you the urge to keep posting.
No, you did. You reignited that passion. I've been wanting to do it for a long time, but this is, I just need to prioritize it because it's like I could tell this is good for the soul.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I always tell people, you do your own thing and do it at your own pace. And I think me and you have very similar philosophies when it comes to creating content and interacting with the community. Like we both kind of said before we went on air, like we do what we want to do. We do it kind of for ourselves, and the other people seem to enjoy it, and that attracts the right type of people. I'm very fortunate for like the small group I have in that Patreon Discord, and I haven't had any issues. And I think it's evident that I'm attracting people that I want to attract.
Yeah.
To my community,
winning the right way. That's more important than just
I like
winning.
that.
So.
I like that. I like that a lot, man. For everyone that came out, I appreciate you guys hanging out in chat. Jack S, I don't know if you had been here before, but you were really active tonight. I appreciate it out there. Derry, all my patrons. I appreciate you guys. I will be having a Time of Courage of Blood and Bone trilogy spoiler chat Sunday morning with a conglomerate of booktubers: Alex Nevaez, Abby, Philip, Petrick, Alan, and some other Sarah, I believe, is also in that chat, like a ton, like 6 of us. So Sunday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, we'll be talking A Time of Courage by John Gwen. And just got this got to get this out there for an announcement. Next Wednesday, talking the entire Dark Tower series with Baron and Sarah Reeds. That is going to be an excellent chat as well on Wednesday. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on this channel in the next week. I'm going a little
busy man. Look
I'm
at
going
you.
insane, bro.
Love it.
It's crazy. Iskar, where can people find you? Tell them about your
YouTube, Iskar, and then there Iskar Jarak on YouTube, or and all my Discord and stuff is in the description of all those videos. So
yeah, and it's also it's in the description as well here. If you're not subscribed to Iskar, even if you have not read Malazan, even if you think it's not your thing, I really suggest you check it out. Those versus videos, I'm going to go watch that now, knowing it doesn't have spoilers. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, totally.
Iskar does demystify Malazan, but he also adds a true, real voice to the booktube community, and I think he's a hell of a guy. And I only have people on this show that I feel like I can have a good conversation with, and not speaking a single verbal word to Iskar, I knew that we were going to be in for a good time tonight. And I think that everyone would agree that it was a good chat. And Iskar, I don't just want to thank you for your content, but I do want to thank you for taking time out of your real life to come talk to me, a nobody that you really didn't know anything about until today. So
no, you're somebody to me, bro. Believe me, we're all huge fans of all your vids. So
I appreciate it, man.
Short.
Yeah, well, we'll do something else real soon. Maybe we'll do some play-by-play of Anamanda Rake hitting a stone cold stunner on somebody or something,
Boom. Yeah, that's what we need. Yeah, some DDTs.
Hell yeah, man. Old school. All right, everyone. Hey, have a good weekend. Go watch Dune if you haven't. It is incredible. I will be back in 2 weeks' time. I'm going to be having another guest on it. Probably, I'm thinking about booking maybe Joanna. Brian Lee Durfee's also on the schedule at some point if I can get a conversation going with him and get that all sorted out. But regardless, I'll be back in 2 weeks with this, and there'll be some live chats coming up on the channel. Check out the community tab. Patreon's down in the description. Not obviously, there's no obligation to that, but it's always appreciated. Hit like on this video if you like the video. I'm done rambling. I'm sorry. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. Iskar, thank you again, man. I appreciate you.
You bet.
Until I see you guys next time, be good, be safe, and remember to always keep turning the page.